Well, no, I need to.
All right, I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Can staff do a roll call?
Sure can. Just as a reminder to all of our commissioners, we have some new ones here today. Just make sure to unmute yourself when it is your turn around. Also, this is a live broadcast, and if you're needing Spanish translation services, you may do so at any time on the Zoom meeting. We'll go ahead and get started here. Commissioner Van Hoosen,
Present.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Present.
Commissioner Schechter,
Present?
Commissioner Hoskins,
Present.
and Commissioner Elginston.
Present.
All right, you have a quorum.
All right. We will now need to vote upon a temporary chairperson to run this meeting. Anyone interested, please nominate themselves. I nominate myself.
I second.
All right. And can I have a motion appointing the temporary chair?
I'll motion appoint. I'll motion Rob Schechter as appointing him as temporary chair for the evening. Second.
Okay, can we open the voting? Please open the voting. Oh.
So we're,
Yeah, I'm going to not vote, I guess. Right.
and Commissioner Hoskins, it looks like we're waiting on your vote. Perfect.
Andrew, can I get an iPad?
Display results at the bottom there.
Okay, thank you. That passes. Can we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the July 2nd meeting minutes?
I motion to approve the July 2nd meeting minutes.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. Please open the electronic voting.
Reset. Yeah, there you go. No.
Okay, and that passes 5-0. All right, so we now move on to matter Z9732124 Anderson Ranch. I will reopen the public hearing and ask planner Nathan Chavez to please announce the case.
The first item on the agenda is case Z-973-21-24. Anderson Corporate Trust is requesting approval of an annexation zone change for 3 parcels from Adams County Agricultural 3 to Commerce City Planned Unit Development. The subject property is approximately 121 acres and is located at 9901 Chambers Road. The item was continued from the July 2nd Planning Commission meeting.
Commissioners, I just have a quick point of order. We would need a motion and a vote on reopening that hearing.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Can I have a motion to reopen this?
I motion to reopen the Anderson Ranch hearing case.
Okay, excellent. Second.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All right, so at this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward to address the commission with a staff presentation to follow.
Commissioner, we need to vote on that motion.
We need to vote. Oh, thank you. I didn't vote on it. Okay, can we prepare voting? And it looks like voting is up and ready. Oh.
Okay.
I voted yes, but I messed up with the machine. Okay, and we do have a vote. We have 5-0 in favor of reopening. Okay, so then at this
Point of
time,
information,
oh, yes.
at this point, should I recuse myself since I wasn't here for the first parts
Good question.
of the public hearings?
If you would like to do that now, just to get ahead of it, that's certainly fine.
For this matter, correct? So I could recuse myself?
Yes, you can recuse yourself.
Thank you.
Is that what you're announcing?
Yes.
I too will need to recuse myself because I wasn't here for the initial part of the information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I believe we're ready to go. So again, I'll ask the applicant to come forward, sorry about that false start earlier, to address the commission with a staff presentation to follow.
Is this on? Wonderful, thank you. I want to thank the commission for taking the time today. My name is Dave Morton, I'm with Anderson Development, and I'm excited to be here today. We have a short presentation, and I want to make certain that we do our best to answer any questions that you may have for us. In addition, we have Jeff Blake from Kimley Horn with us today here also to answer any traffic study questions or traffic concerns. So we've done that, I think, at the request of the Planning Commission, so thank you. If we can go forward, let's see, I can actually control this, can't I? Oh, look at that. This gives an overview of the project location. I think all of you are familiar with this, specifically where, right there on the corner along Chambers and Sable. This gives an overview of the concept plan. This is clearly cast in jello at this stage, but it gives you an idea as to the densities that we're looking at and also the product types. We've varied the product types to make this kind of a very nice community with multiple different price points. In addition, to highlight, and we'll go over this a little bit more in detail, we've got a 10-acre school dedication, almost a 10-acre school dedication. We're dedicating 3 acres for a park, and then when that is adjoined with the reunion portion that will be a park, we'll have a 10 acres of park along with the almost 10 acres for the school. So some pretty neat amenities right there. In addition, we've got a community park that we'll talk a little bit about how we're going to do that, and we've got a trail system with over 2 miles of trail that is incorporated into the project itself. So we're very excited about it. I'm going to go through briefly these objectives so you can kind of understand what our goals were when we started this project. Number one, it was to provide a thoughtful, family-oriented, and centered development to provide homeowners with moderately priced homes. As I indicated before, to provide a mix of housing types that were complementary to the area and the other projects and developments that were around us, to provide amenities that would complement the area and provide real-world usability. And what I mean by that is that those amenities have changed over the years. I know when I was looking at our first little condo that my wife and I moved into, there were certain things that were important back then that were a little bit different today. And I'm going to highlight some of those. Again, as we've indicated, we've got a future elementary school site, a regional park that's adjoining to it. We've put together a trail system to provide very safe, direct access, not only to the school, but also to the amenities within the project itself. We've got some connections right there to the regional trail, pickleball courts, and a family picnic area that we'll outline. This gives you kind of an overview of the 10-acre site that we've got for the school. This gives you an idea as to kind of some of the architecture that we think would make some sense in a new modern elementary school in this area. This gives it kind of an outline as to how we would look at incorporating that entire park area. So that's the park area to the left in the lighter shade of green would be specific to the reunion dedication of park. And along with that and with the school, it is an extremely neat area that we think serves the community well and makes some sense to really master plan. We think there's an opportunity for the school district, along with the city and the neighborhood, to really provide some ideas on what makes sense. And we have seen very successful examples of children's learning parks, things like that, which would make sense right next to an elementary school, where it would not only be a amenity to the area, but also it would actually be kind of a place where other people could come and enjoy this, as well as the children that were at the school would enjoy that as well. As I outlined, outside of the school and the park, probably the part that we are most excited about is the trail system that we are incorporating into the project itself. Again, over 2 miles of trail, which would be incorporated into that, would be a 10-foot bike and pedestrian trail. It connects the entire project together, as well as our regional amenities. And the goal here is to provide a safe, walkable community, something that people could enjoy and feel comfortable. We have spent a tremendous amount of time trying to decrease the amount of times where cars and pedestrians will have interactions. And that's one of the ways in which we'll spend a little bit more time on how we've done that specific to housing types. Again, what specific to explain that, anywhere where there is a trail, the homes fronting that trail will have alley access, so there will not be, it won't give an alley feel to it, so it'll be a very safe environment, and it will, again, as we've indicated, it will decrease those interactions with cars. The trail system is placed in visual sight of the roads and the front of homes to reduce crime and increase the safety. I know there was some concerns specific to crime in the last meeting that we had, and I think that is one of the things that we believe, that visual sight, open areas, things that are more difficult to hide behind areas, create kind of an open feeling and a safe feeling for not only the residents, but also anybody else that would be visiting this area. This gives kind of a brief overview of the regional trail system along Chambers, and that was those images were actually taken from Commerce City. This comes from the PUD document. This gives kind of a brief outline as to the trail system, how it's incorporated and how it ties into the public park, into the community park, and essentially how we have kind of outlined the densities, where the higher densities are in the center of the project, which allows us again to use a different type of product, a rear load product, so that the trail will be facing homes where there's not going to be interactions with driveways. And so again, it minimizes the number of times where there are cars and pedestrians interacting with individuals along the trail itself. The number one fastest growing sport in the country, pickleball, and we think this is what we're kind of specifically calling a real usable amenity, something that the community will enjoy and be able to really have some fun doing this. This gives, again, another overview of some of the amenities: playground area, an area where parents can bring their children, picnic areas, benches in specific areas, again, to provide that kind of safe feeling in the area and make people feel as though this is more of a family-centered and oriented kind of project itself. Specifically, this addresses how, some of the questions that were specific to crime. I've addressed some of those, but we've tried to incorporate the parks, the regional areas, the school, and kind of create an atmosphere of ownership. Some of this, as you know, is really started with community vigilance. You know, when you see something going on in your neighbor's house that shouldn't be happening, that's usually the best way to halt some of that stuff. And part of this is creating that kind of community environment within a project itself. And that's part of the goal that we've done. As I've indicated before, sight lines are important. Open areas, we have some traffic calming measures where we're using roundabouts, for example. And so, again, continuing with that, providing continuity to all of the roads and the trails. We've avoided creating concealed or isolated routes. So everything is interconnected, and hopefully that will do a very good job of kind of keeping crime out of the area. And also, we've been very successful in other projects using semi-transparent fencing in specific areas where it's difficult for somebody, if it's open and if things are semi-transparent, it's difficult for crime to occur because people don't feel comfortable, they don't feel concealed. And so using semi-transparent fencing in areas where that could occur. So that specifically is how we're addressing a lot of those concerns specific to crime. The next couple slides here, I'm going to turn over to Jeff, and he's going to address these specific to traffic. Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Plank with Kimley Horn. I help prepare the traffic study. And it's only I consolidated it down to one slide. I'm here to address a couple of traffic concerns from the previous public hearing regarding vehicle capacities on the internal streets, and then the overall compatibility from the site from a traffic perspective and land use perspective. And so the project, internal streets to the site are collector streets. They typically have a capacity of approximately 10 to 15,000 vehicles per day. That's dependent on whether it's a 2-lane or a 3-lane section. With this project, it'll be 2-lane sections, which would align with the 10,000 vehicles per day. 100th Avenue west of Chambers Road is anticipated to have approximately 2,700 vehicles per day. That's roughly 25% of the capacity of that roadway. Sable Boulevard south of 104th is expected to have approximately 5,000 vehicles per day. And then finally, 98th Avenue west of Chambers is expected to have about 1,300 vehicles per day, which is actually less than the threshold for a local street. And so as you can see here, there's a lot of reserve capacity on the internal streets for the circulation of vehicle traffic. As far as the compatibility of the site for traffic perspective, two really key components here are extending 102nd Avenue from Sable Boulevard to the west limits of the residential community to the north, Harvest Meadows. Previously, Harvest Meadows didn't have a connection to Sable Boulevard, so now they'll be able to utilize that to get access to 104th Avenue. And what's interesting about that is 104th Avenue and Sable is going to be a future signalized location. And so that'll create a much safer condition. It's safer to have side street movements from a signal control rather than stop control. And similar in that regard, they only have access to Chambers Road from a stop control condition. And now with the complete street of 100th Avenue, the project's contributing to the future signal of 100th Avenue and Chambers Road. So Harvest Meadows will have an option to also utilize signal control there to improve 2 points of safety for exiting their development to the external arterial street system. 100th Avenue that I mentioned previously, the streets on that will be aligning to the streets on Harvest, or aligning to the streets to Harvest Meadows. And that's a desirable condition in the traffic engineering community. It prevents conflicting movements. From a land use perspective, the housing is very similar to all the communities in the surrounding area, especially the Harvest Meadow to the north. And then from a shared use perspective, as Dave alluded to previously, they're providing a new elementary school on site in the future. They're contributing to a regional park, and there's going to be a lot of future pedestrian trails on site that can be shared usage to all the surrounding communities. And with that, that ends our presentation for any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I don't know if it's for the applicant or staff. At build-out, what would be the approximate population of this community?
It depends on minimum 411 housing units and at maximum 901 housing units. I don't have the current calculations. Actually, give me 1 second. If it were built to the maximum and we took Commerce City's average household size per the US Census, roughly 3,207 individuals. And if we go by the minimum, 1,463 individuals potentially in this development.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I do. This is listed as a priority infill on our comprehensive plan existing, right?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the
This is
question?
listed as a priority infill location on our existing comprehensive plan?
Staff wouldn't define it as a priority. We certainly look at all proposed development equally, but to the best of staff's knowledge or my knowledge, I don't believe we have a priority infill development type of category.
Okay. And then if this got approved, would the city start a general improvement district in lieu of a metro district?
So regardless if a metro district is allowed or approved there, the applicant would still need to submit for the Northern Infrastructure General Improvement District, NIGID, because that's a tool the city uses and the water district uses to fund infrastructure for any sort of water, sanitary sewer or water infrastructure. So regardless, that has to occur.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
Hi, I have some questions for the traffic study, if you want to come back up here. I was wondering how you came to the numbers that you got when you, on that slide of the 5,000 per day of cars, or how do you come to those numbers?
So we collected existing baseline traffic counts, so we can determine how many vehicles are there today. And then there's traffic demand forecasting models that project traffic. In this area, we utilize 3.4% per year, grown out to 21 years. That's a pretty conservative projection. That is one of the higher growth percentages that we typically utilize. So this is an area that's growing. And then we add project traffic projections on top of it. And so when we add all three together, that gives us our projection.
So those numbers are projected, they're not actual?
They can't be actual if the project's not there. So these are volumes
Right.
with the project there. So we know what
Okay,
actual
so
is
after full development has happened?
after full
then-
development. We know what there
okay.
is there today, but we can only project after today.
Right, okay. And then my question was 102nd Avenue. Is that planned to be a roadway from Sable all the way over to Chambers?
Not over to Chambers, but it will connect into the community for Harvest Meadows. So indirectly to Chambers, yes, because it will connect the whole missing frontage between Harvest Meadows and Sable Boulevard.
So is 102nd Avenue actually in Harvest Meadows subdivision? So it would go right and
It
continue
would go into
on?
the subdivision. So yes, it'd be a cross access into Harvest Meadows, so they would have access to, directly to 102nd.
Okay, and then is that street that's going to be placed there, 102nd Avenue, is that part of the property that is with Anderson Ranch? Because it says in the traffic study that it should be continuous with 102nd Avenue that's on the west side of Sable, which would put it into the map that showed undeveloped. So if 102nd Avenue went straight across from the west side of Sable,
Yes, it aligns with 102nd Avenue to the west side of Sable.
because that is part of the undeveloped property, is it not? Where that house, where those two houses are, and then there's development, I mean, there's two houses on property there, I think.
It's a full community that it aligns into.
So in the green part is where I'm talking about. That's agriculture, right? On the north side of the property?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, 102nd Avenue is actually slightly north of Anderson Farm, so if it goes straight across, it would go into that agriculture property, is that correct?
If I can answer that, Brooke Anderson with Anderson Development. So I've been working with your engineers. As part of our agreement with the city, as part of our annexation agreement, we've agreed that we'd use our best efforts to align that and acquire enough right-of-way to make that a straight access straight across that. However, if we're not able to acquire that access, we would have to come back and redesign. As we're going through with the plating process, we'll have to make sure that it doesn't cause any conflicts with traffic congestions or anything like that. So as part of our annexation agreement, we're going to use our best efforts to acquire that, to make that straight alignment that you're.
So you would have to acquire that from the property owners that own
to
it
the north.
now?
Yes.
To the north?
Yes, and it's our understanding that they're intending to develop that as well. And so we'll work with those guys to master plan that and make that work as a straight aligned intersection there.
Okay. Oh, my other question, I don't know if it pertains to you, but it was about the school. So Adams 27J will be, excuse me, putting a school in that site then?
With the annexation and the future final platting, the subdivision of this property, Anderson Ranch Development Corporate Trust will be dedicating, I believe it's approximately 10 acres to 27J School District. And then at a later date, staff is unsure when, the plan is to develop those 10 acres as a elementary school.
So we don't know how long it's going to sit there vacant until 27J decides that they're going to build a school on it.
That's correct, yes.
And then how close for 27J, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, how close do the elementary schools have to be? Because if you put a school right there, not even a half a mile away, they're going to be putting a school in Reunion Ridge. Or there's dedicating a site to a school in Reunion Ridge.
Unfortunately, staff is unable to answer that question. In working with 27J and the developers, 27J has made it known to staff and developers that they find that the dedication acceptable. There was some discussion about how close the Reunion Ridge school was, but it didn't seem like it was much of a concern. So that's really all I can provide for you right now. And I can also reach out to 27J and see if they can provide me more information. But during the review process, that concern wasn't really ever brought up regarding the distance between the Anderson Ranch school dedication site and the Reunion Ridge school site.
Right. Because it doesn't seem like they're very far apart. Like half a mile at most. I had another question, but it escaped. Did you have questions, Rob?
I did. Did you want to answer?
I just wanted to help, and I believe it's a great question, actually, because they are very close. I believe that that is a middle school, and this is an elementary school, which kind of answers the question of
Okay.
what. Yes, it's a good question, though.
Different levels.
It's a different level, yes, but it is a good question, so
Okay.
thank you.
I think that's all the questions I have.
Commissioner Eggleston, I guess you're basically asking, well, like, how do we know 27J is even going to use it? And if so, when? Is that kind of the? what
Well,
you're-
that was my question, and how long is it gonna sit as vacant land before a school is finally built on it? And if it's gonna sit there vacant, then what are they gonna do with the land until a school is built on it?
The land would just remain vacant, and 27J would be responsible for maintaining it and ensuring it does not violate any code enforcement issues per our municipal code. But at this point in time, it would remain vacant until it was eventually developed by 27J School District.
Okay, so that wouldn't be responsibility for the development, it would be responsibility for the school district.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Did you wanna?
If I could add some clarity to that. It's my understanding that Commerce City would take ownership of it until the school district actually needed it. So the city would have the ownership of the property until the school really was ready to build on it.
Okay. And then, are you part of the development for this, then?
Yeah, I'm with the Anderson Development, yes.
Okay, at what point, because I read in the plan that it could be as much as 935 units. Right now, the way it is, it's 581. And then it said in there they could all be single-family detached homes. So at what point are you going to decide how to continue with development?
So again, this project was really designed around having a community trail system. And the reason why we have such a high density in the middle was to be able to have that flexibility, because a rear-loaded product is not as a desirable product as a front-loaded product, being the driveway in the front of the house versus in the rear of the house. And so what we wanted to do was that strip of property in the middle that the trail surrounds, we wanted to have the most flexibility of unit or housing type that we could. Realistically, every concept we've come up with and we've submitted to the city, nothing's been over 600 units. Realistically, we're not going to come close to that, but we wanted to have the flexibility to, in the event that it made it more viable for a builder to come in and make that a better use, per se. So realistically, we're not going to come close to that. I'd be very surprised if we exceeded 600.
Okay. You know, it says in the plan 110th Avenue, is that supposed to be 101st or 100th?
That's staff's fault. It's my fault. I forgot to update the staff report with 100th Avenue.
It's 100th.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Okay,
that's
I knew it
entirely
was
my fault.
100th or 101st, but I wasn't sure which. Okay, I think that's all my questions. Did you have any questions, Rob? No.
No, okay. Do any members of the public wish to provide comments on this case? All right. What's that? Sorry.
My name's Danny Cram.
Oh,
I wanted to reply to your question, Deborah's question. That piece of property that they're calling 102nd Avenue, I own that. And that's unincorporated Adams County property. It's called Track FF in Adams County. So I don't know why they're putting 102 Avenue on there. That's my property.
So then my question is, are you going to be working with them?
Nobody's ever talked to me about it. It's called Track FF in Adams County, so, I mean, it's owned by 3 people, and I'm one of the 3. Nobody's talked to us about it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else here in person?
Hi, my name's Tim Cowles. I live at 9961 Chambers Drive, and that is just right behind what they're going to be building there. I'm not sure how many apartments are going to build there, or townhouses. How tall are they going to be? How many units total? And I don't know about the amount of people. There's going to be more than 1,000, I would believe. I would think it would hit a much higher number than that. But what was the number that you said for total?
The rough estimates are maximum or minimum 1,463, and this is a very rough estimate based off 2022 census data. And maximum potentially 3,207 individuals.
And that counts for families with children and just the amount of people. Also, there's a reduced shopping in the area. We only have like 1 grocery store in that area. And it seems like there's various other locations that are being built in the area that's actually overcrowding and making the area unsustainable as far as the amount of people. And I don't know if we've addressed the traffic that will be increased on Chambers Drive. Like, how are they going to get the equipment into that area to build? Is that just something we have to put up with until you get done, or?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not. This is public comment. You provide your comment,
Yeah.
and that's it. I'm not supposed to
Okay.
necessarily answer.
Okay.
that question.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, other
Exactly,
than that, crime will pick up. I do believe that will happen. And I know the traffic's going to pick up. So that's about all I got.
Okay, thank you. All right, looks like that's it for in-person. Is there anyone attending virtually tonight who wishes to speak?
No one signed up beforehand, and we have no one that has acknowledged wanting to speak.
Okay. At this time, I will now close the public hearing for the case. Can I get a motion?
I motion that the planning commission enter a finding that the requested planned unit development for the property located at 9901 Chambers Road containing case Z 9732124 meets the criteria of land development code and recommends.
Commissioners, a quick point of order. I don't think the staff had finished giving their full presentation.
I did not realize.
Yeah, we got a little out of order from our normal, so I think we still have the staff presentation, Nathan, is that?
Is that right?
Yes, and staff will be quick. I know we've discussed a lot. I won't spend too much time.
Okay, please, go ahead, thank you.
So the applicant Anderson Corporate Trust is requesting approval of an annexation zone change from Adams County Agricultural 3 to Plan Unit Development. And a little background on the actual PUD zoning request. Zoning of a property determines what uses are allowed and not allowed and sets bulk development standards such as setbacks, lot size requirements, and maximum building heights. PUD zoning is a zone district that allows specific uses and standards that a straight zone district would not allow for. The intent of the PUD zoning is to support a unique development that would not be feasible within a straight zoning district, such as R1 or agricultural or C3, for example. PUD zoning is approved by City Council in the form of an ordinance and runs with the land, meaning that the zoning for a parcel remains in effect unless it is modified by a subsequent PUD amendment. And then please note that there are 2 associated cases, an annexation and a inclusion into the Northern Infrastructure General Improvement District, or NIGID, and both the annexation and NIGID application are scheduled for the August 19th City Council and NIGID Board, respectively. Currently, the property is in Adams County. It's zoned by other PUDs, or it's zoned by PUDs with residential planning areas, residential zoning, and agricultural zoning. Within our future land use plan, within the comprehensive plan, the property is designated as residential medium and public state, and the proposed PUD with its primarily residential land uses and accessory park and school sites falls in line with the comprehensive plan in that the residential medium designation calls for single-family attached, single-family detached, mixed with townhomes and patio homes, and then there's secondary uses of school sites and open space. And then the public state designation, the blue, that also lists public parks and schools as primary land uses. As stated earlier, Harvest Meadows is to the northeast, Foxton Village to the west. The property is currently a ranch-style home, and I believe there's tenants currently within the ranch-style home, and then the rest of the site is used for agricultural purposes. And as the applicant stated, please note that there is existing public park space where my mouse is, and with a future, or the current Reunion Ridge PUD also designates this area where my cursor is as future park space as well. So some current conditions taken June 12th of this year. This is a view from Sable Boulevard facing east, and then a view from Chambers facing west toward the existing ranch-style home. So the proposed PUD has 10 planning areas, which can be categorized into 5 overall land use types. There are 2 residential land use types, the first being RMD, which stands for single-family detached residential, and the RMD planning area can be found within A, C, and F, the lighter yellow, and the RMDA, which is stands for the single-family detached and attached residential district, is the darker yellow, the B planning areas, and currently proposed in those planning areas is townhomes, single-family attached and single-family detached. And please note that with planning area B, the RMDA, because single-family detached is also proposed there, the entire PUD, the entire development, could be developed as a single-family detached development. As touched on earlier, planning area E is home to the future Commerce City public park dedication. It's 3.37 acres proposed for dedication. And then the planning area G is home to the future 27J Elementary School site. So the proposed development includes build out of existing half-built roads such as East 100th Avenue and Sable Boulevard, east-west connections between Chambers and Sable Boulevard such as East 102nd Avenue, East 100th Avenue, and various local roadways within the development. As proposed, the construction of roadways will provide greater connectivity in this area of the city and provide additional access to drivers and pedestrians. Lastly, per the annexation agreement, which is tied to the annexation application, cash contributions for future traffic signals at intersections such as East 104th Avenue and Sable Boulevard, which is further north on 104th and Sable, and East 100th Avenue and Chambers Road are required if approved. There's a neighborhood meeting, 8 members of the public attended, and there were general questions and concerns regarding these topics, and those questions were answered by the applicants as well as the city representative. This annexation request was continued from the July 2nd Planning Commission. 4 members of the public spoke in opposition of the case. As of 6 p.m. today, staff has received 5 written letters from the public, which are found within the packet. The proposed annexation zone change has been reviewed by all relevant DRT agencies, development review team, such as planning, engineering, traffic, In addition, staff has found that the application meets the approval criteria for zoning of newly annexed land and PUD zoning. An analysis of all the approval criteria may be found within your packet, and staff can also pull up any of the approval criteria and discuss those further if you all wish. And lastly, staff has noted the following considerations for discussion. I won't go over every single one. I'll just leave this here for you all to read over or look at, and staff is available to answer any questions if you all have any. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a point of order. So do we now need two motions, like one motion to close the public hearing and then a motion to actually, a motion on the proposal?
Yeah, you don't need the motion to close the public hearing. That would just be your act to do so.
Okay.
And then the motion would be about whether you approve or deny.
Okay. How are we doing? Do you want to talk about it at all, or?
Yes, but I have another question.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know if you can answer this for me, but when they have a new housing developed, do they have to earmark a certain percentages of that for low-income housing?
That is currently not a requirement by Commerce City, so no.
No? What about senior housing? Is there going to be any senior housing in this development?
That is a question the applicant can answer, but currently Commerce City does not have any requirement for a dedicated amount of senior housing in any new development.
I'm just saying that, you know, in the comprehensive plan, it shows that the senior population increased 58% in Commerce City, yet there is no senior housing in the north range of Commerce City, in any of the developments up there. So that might be something they want to think about. But okay, I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. At this time, I'll now close the public hearing for the case. And can I get a motion on the case?
Yeah, I'd like to move the planning commission to find the requested plan unit development zoning for the property located at 9901 Chambers Road, containing KZ 973-2124, meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and based upon such finding, recommend the city council approve the POD zoning.
Okay, can I get a second?
I second, but with a condition.
Yeah, and I don't know if we can have a condition on a second procedurally. Maybe a different motion.
You could move to amend the motion.
Okay, can I move to amend the motion?
Yeah. Sure. What amendment would you like?
The condition would be 102nd Avenue, because if it goes straight across, it's going to be on other people's property, and I don't want eminent domain to happen. So if there's agreement that they buy the property in order for 102nd Avenue to continue to go across, that's fine, but that would be the condition that I would want to add.
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Commissioner Eggleston, that's a great thing for discussion. I just want to clarify. Tonight, the application that the commission is entertaining is for the plan unit development.
Okay,
And the plan unit development sets forth the zoning within the property that the applicant owns. So they
Okay.
only control their property. And then following the plan unit development, should council approve that, they'll have a zoning entitlement on the property. And the zoning sets the rules for how the property will develop in the future. The next step beyond that is called the subdivision plat. And they can't plat property that they don't own. So
Right.
they would be responsible for securing any property rights that they need to secure in order to build the infrastructure to service their development at the time. And that will be something that we look at the plat phase to make sure that they have legal ownership or authorization to plat the property that they're proposing to plat. Private members of the public do not have the ability for eminent domain, so that can't be employed in this case.
Okay.
But I would suggest that it's something that you should note in your deliberations, but I would recommend that that is a condition that may not be applicable to the PUD at this time, other than raising that as an expectation that they should work with the property owners to secure property, to build the infrastructure for the subdivision, and put that note on there. They can't, if they don't have legal authorization, they can't build on somebody else's property. So I'm just saying it's a little premature for this particular application, for that particular condition, for your consideration. I'm not suggesting that you don't continue to talk about that or craft a condition around that, but it is not a condition that would need to be put in place for the zoning document at this time, because the zoning does not affect adjacent properties' rights, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't want the commission to not deliberate that point. I just wanted to clarify that aspect of it for you to help with your deliberation.
Well, that helps. Thank you. Okay. Did you want to deliberate?
Okay, yeah, that's
Do you
actually,
do you
Or do you
withdraw
want-
your amendment?
Pardon?
Do you withdraw your amendment?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
It can't be an amendment.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I
Not
didn't
applicable.
fully hear that. What,
Oh, I withdraw the amendment. Thank you.
thank you.
okay then. With that amendment withdrawn, I believe we're back to the motion, which, and do you second the motion as it was?
Yes.
All right. So we have a motion by Commissioner Hoskins and an amendment or and a second by Commissioner Eggleston. I don't know. Do we any discussion? More?
I have none.
I think yeah, I'm good too. I think that's an interesting point that you raised. I'm interested in what kind of mechanisms. if
Commissioner,
so-
you have closed the hearing at this point.
Oh, so. Oh, really?
Is it, do you
I
want
was
to
just
do more
following the script.
deliberation, or
I'm sorry.
is this deliberation?
Just discussion by the commission.
You can deliberate. Just want to make sure that we're, just no more questions for anyone else.
Correct. Yes, it's deliberation. Yeah, so that's interesting. For sure, it would be the city that would, and yeah, eminent domain, like with recent Supreme Court cases in the past 10, 20 years, it seems to be a very expansive power of cities. So I understand the concern. Yeah, I think it's good to include, well, at least have this in the record. Yeah, and I hear you that I don't know if this right now, this is all about one particular parcel, not about what happens with 102nd. I don't know if we'll have a chance in the future to actually put a condition. I also don't know if a condition, if we put it in, is actually binding in any way. So I don't know, I have a lot of unknowns there.
Right.
Just my thoughts as, but yeah, I hear you. I'd like to see things, yeah, go a certain way. Okay, I guess we're good. Any other comment?
No, I don't have any more comments.
I'm sorry?
I don't have any more comments.
Okay, thank you. Then please open the electronic voting. All right, and the case passes, 3 yeses to 0 noes and 0 abstains.
Chair Schechter, while we get some of the planning commissioners to return, can I offer some assistance with the order of the hearings? the script that we provided is a little light in the details, so I just kind of wanted to walk through this with you.
Great.
And answer any questions while we're waiting for the other commissioners to return.
Sounds good.
So we have 2 more public hearings on the agenda tonight. And generally, there's 9 steps, and I'll provide them to you. The chair can open the hearing at the very beginning, refer to staff to introduce the item is the second one. The applicant then presents, then staff presents. Then there's Q&A for both the applicant and staff. Then there's the public testimony. And after the public testimony, the applicant should have the opportunity to respond to any public testimony. And then close the hearing, and then motion and deliberation and vote of that. So that's the order of operations here. And I apologize, we will look at the script and make sure we provide that level of clarity that you need moving forward. But I will give you my notes so you can have an additional set of notes.
Oh, but that's good. And thank you. Thank you for piping up and helping out as we're going through. I appreciate it. Okay, that's a good scheme here for how they all, excellent. Thank you. All right. I will open the public hearing for this case and ask Planner Dalton Guerra to please announce the case.
Case number CU 131-24, TSL Company Holdings LTD on behalf of Crown Associates LLC is requesting approval of a conditional use permit for the stacking of shipping containers higher than 20 feet. The subject property is currently zoned I3, heavy intensity industrial, consisting of approximately 28.24 acres and is located at 1051 Dallas Street. I just wanted to clarify that a conditional use permit is a request for a specific use to occur on a very specific property. And the intent behind a conditional use permit is to mitigate any potential negative impacts on the surrounding area. Conditional use permits do not run with the land. Therefore, if the ownership were ever to change in the future, a new conditional use permit would be required. At this time, I will ask the applicant to come forward and make their presentation.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tom Hastings, and I'm CEO of TSL Companies and Crown Container. My wife Patty and I started the companies in 1981. My history with Commerce City goes way back. We moved here when I was from Nebraska, when I was in what was 1953. So I went to what is now Hanson Elementary. It was Oneida back then. I'm ashamed to admit that I did get to know Mr. Hanson fairly well when he was the principal at Oneida. But then I went on to Kearney, grew up here my formative years. Commerce City made me who I am today. So TSL Companies is an international logistic company, and Crown Container is one of the companies in that group. Like I said, Patty and I started the company, little round table, phone on a cardboard box. Today we have 113 offices in 85 countries. We're one of the largest intermodal providers between Chicago and Denver. In 2016, we acquired Charles M. Shire here in Denver, and they were the first customs broker in 1946 between Chicago and California. very, very reputable company, and we felt extremely fortunate to be able to acquire them. You'll find out tonight that what we're really trying to do here is consolidate all of our companies out here into one location in Commerce City. Presently, Charles M. Shire was always located in Denver. Real quickly, container depots are a integral part of the international logistics system. Having one in Commerce City, I view, obviously I'm partial, I suppose, but I view as a real opportunity for the city because we are the largest by far in the state. As far as any company you want to talk about, Lowe's, whoever, they all depend on international, logistics to do their businesses. And worldwide, where to store these in between movements is a very, very critical piece of the whole program. So I'm glad to be here. There's a lot of people here that can tell you a lot more specifics, but I just kind of wanted to give you a flavor of the company. And like I said, we are family owned. I recently stepped out of the day-to-day operations, but my three boys who have been in it their whole lives, they operate it today. Very good. Very, very proud of the company. We never lose an account. Our management team has all been, most of them, it's the only job they've ever had out of college. And so 30, 40 years. I could go on and on. The only thing that tops my talking about TSL is my grandkids. So we won't get on that. But anyway, thank you very much. It's nice to be here, nice to be home. I've never came back to Colorado that I didn't go by our house, 7190 75th Avenue. And the phone number no longer works, Atlas 85836. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. My name's Alyssa Knutson. I am a land use planner with Auden Johnson, and I'm presenting tonight on behalf of TSL, in addition to Tom's background that he just provided. So you'll see here the project team, we are all here and available to answer any questions that you may have this evening. And then the background that Tom just went over. So very quickly, the location, you'll see this is located at Dallas, and it's generally north of 96th and just south of where 76 and 85 split off, basically, is the location. It's located within the Phelps-Toyton, I always wonder if I'm saying that right, Industrial Park. As Dalton said, it's about 28 acres. Surrounded by industrial uses, many of them, as you can see from this aerial image, also have outdoor storage included on their yards. And then Union Pacific Railroad is just on the western side of the property. And you'll see that, that's all the right-of-way located there. So the property is zoned I3, which is heavy intensity industrial. This allows outdoor storage, warehousing, heavy vehicle and equipment repair as uses by right. It is also within the comprehensive plan as general industrial and also further designated as an industrial enclave focus area. So this really focuses on actually maintaining industrial within the city in these locations and adding jobs as well. I know you all are going to also have a presentation of your comprehensive plan update this evening, it looks like, according to the agenda. I did take a look at the update, and the designation for this property is Northern Business District, which also includes primary uses, including industrial. So the property is both in line with the current comprehensive plan and appears to be in line with the future designation under the update of the comprehensive plan. So this is a lot of words. I'm going to breeze through this quickly. I usually don't like wordy slides, so I do apologize. The existing use and the building on the property were approved by Adams County in 2000, and that included allowing stacking of containers above the fence height as a conditional use permit that was approved by the county, not to exceed 40 feet. However, the property was annexed in 2007, and the uses have been consistent and remain to be storage, maintenance, and office, storage of shipping containers in particular. Historically, containers on the site have been stacked at 3 high. However, the proposal is to now stack at 4 high. So generally, stacking is occurring at about 30 feet high, and we are proposing to have that 4th additional container stacking not to exceed 40 feet, which is consistent with that original Adams County approval. This is just a really quick Google shot of the existing mature landscaping that exists along the entirety of the property frontage on Dallas Street. You can see it does a really great job of screening the existing shipping container storage. However, as part of a concurrent development plan application that staff is reviewing administratively, there's going to be additional screening and landscaping proposed, which I'll discuss a little further. Impacts from the added height of shipping container stacking will be mitigated and will be minimal. First of all parking will be provided both for trucks, workers, and office employees. The existing full movement access on Dallas was found by the traffic study to be able to serve the project. And then city plans have future planned widening of 96 that will further address any traffic caused from the project. Stacking will be by certified operators in accordance with all industry standards, and I'll discuss that a bit further in a moment. It will also be moved away from the property lines at least 30 feet in order to prevent any potential issues, although I'll say that generally there are none, of any tipping of containers. And then there will be no containers stacked on existing easements on the property. So this is the stacking of storage containers and in accordance with industry standards. The first one you see on the left is block stacking, and basically you see that they're all same number of containers, and that really limits any tipping from occurring. On the right is where you don't have the same number of containers, and I always explained it as these are step backs. I kind of think about it as like kind of a wedding cake tiering a little bit. So if the wind were to knock that upper one, it would knock onto the tier that's just lower from it, so preventing any further accidents or incidents. I will note, I was told this afternoon by Tom that there have been no OSHA or injury incidents from the company. So very safe compliance standards with this company, with TSL. Approval of this conditional use permit will allow TSL to consolidate several operations to one site, and these operations are throughout the Denver area. So you're basically consolidating operations to the city, with that adding additional jobs that include a lot, mainly an addition of office jobs, but also an addition of maintenance jobs to the property. This is also in line with that industrial enclave focus area from the comprehensive plan, which seeks to, again, as I previously stated, bring additional jobs and also to maintain industry in this area. Consolidating operations will also reduce truck traffic throughout the area, and also will eliminate the need for additional footprints of storage container stacking or storage in other areas of the city or in the region by TSL specifically, of course. So this consolidation will allow TSL to meet the growing demand for regional exports and also worldwide imports that they do. And it will also contribute to the area businesses and increase property tax assessments through site improvement upgrades as part of the development plan application. Again, that's being reviewed by staff administratively. The staff report states that the conditional use approval criteria have been met, and so staff agrees that the criteria are addressed. And generally, I will just state that I missed one on this slide, and I apologize for that, but the property will comply with all local, state, and federal regulations. It's consistent with the comprehensive plan and also the surrounding area. And as previously discussed, impacts will be mitigated. So we agree with staff that all approval criteria have been met and that this location is appropriate for the proposed stacking of containers. With that, we will leave it to questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. All right, staff presentation?
Thank you, Chair and Planning Commission. My name is Dalton Guerra, a senior planner with the Commerce City Planning Division. Again, this is a conditional use permit request to stack shipping containers above 20 feet. It's located at 1051 Dallas Street. It is zoned I3, and the future land use designation is general industrial. As the applicant indicated, the request here is to stack higher than 20 feet, but not to exceed 40 feet. And a couple more details on some of the site improvements that will occur is the expansion to the existing building, new security gate and fueling area, and improved surfacing around the property, as well as additional landscaping and screening. You will notice that the site is surrounded by I3. A lot of those properties are already doing outdoor storage with those heavy industrial uses. A quick look at the site plan. A couple things to note on the far west side where there's a large detention area, no storage will occur there. And also per our LDC, no storage can occur in the front setback. So on the far east side of the property, there will be no storage as well. Here's a look at the landscape plan. You could see in the photos that the applicant showed that along the property line along Dallas Street, it's pretty well screened already. But the applicant is also proposing to provide more landscaping throughout the site, as well as more screening around the site to help even more. The elevations of the expansion of the building will match the existing building. So this is just a quick look at what those elevations would look like. The request was reviewed by the development review team and all the necessary agencies, and was found that all the approval criteria for a conditional use permit were met. Some considerations, the property has been storing and stacking these containers since it was annexed into the city. And as we saw in the zoning map, there's a lot of I3 surrounding this property. And the site will be surfaced and improved with adequate screening and landscaping, and that the stacking of the containers will not exceed 40 feet, as mentioned previously. These are the criteria for the conditional use permit. They've been analyzed in the staff report, but we are happy to go through any of these individually at your request. And that is the conclusion of my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for applicant or staff?
I just have a quick question. You were talking about exceeding 20 feet in the presentation, but they've been stacking at 30 already, and then we're moving it up to 40. What are the safety concerns here, or why was the original 20-foot level set?
Great question, thank you. And the 20 feet comes from our land development code. So you can't stack higher than 20 feet unless you're in I3 zoning and unless you get a conditional use permit to do so. This property was annexed and they were already stacking above 20 feet, so it came into the city as a legal non-conforming use. And so now this is to allow them to legally stack above 20 feet, but not to exceed 40 feet.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about the screening. Currently from right-of-way, according to code enforcement, you aren't supposed to see the containers, is that correct?
The screening is more about not being able to see it, but having adequate screening. There are also fence standards that we can't exceed per the LDC, and anything that's stacking above 8 feet typically can't be screened completely from view. So there's no provision in our LDC that says you can't be able to see outdoor storage. that we try to mitigate that by putting screen walls up and landscaping.
Thank you.
Yeah, would the Board of Adjustment need to review this conditional use permit?
No, so the conditional use permits go to Planning Commission for recommendation to City Council. Board of Adjustment does not hear conditional use permits.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Guerrero.
All right then. Is there any public testimony? Is there anyone here in person? Okay. Are there any virtual speakers?
No one signed up beforehand, and we have no one that has raised their hand currently.
Okay. Great then. Let's see. Would the applicant like to respond to any of the questions that were just asked? Or?
No, I appreciate Dalton responding, and I also I meant to thank him. Sorry about that. No, I just wanted to thank Dalton, and I meant to at the beginning of the presentation to thank him, and he's been really working well with us for a while on this project, so we're excited to be here. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right then. I'll close the public hearing for this case. Can I get a motion on the case?
Excuse me, I move that the Planning Commission enter a finding that the requested conditional use permit for the property located at 10051 Dallas Street, contained in case CU-131-24, meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and based upon such finding, recommend that the City Council approve the conditional use permit.
Okay, do we have a second?
I will second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Eggleston and a second by Commissioner Hoskins. Yeah, I'm sorry? Oh. Do we want to deliberate? Does anyone have any comments or discussion? No. Okay, please open the electronic voting. Are we up? Yes. Oops. All right, and the result is unanimous, 5-0. Congratulations. Thank you. And the case passes. Okay. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. See you, Puda Prize. All right. For this one, I'll open public hearing for this case and ask Planner Dalton Guerra to please announce the case.
Thank you. The case is PUDA 23-0003. Southwestern Property Corporation is requesting approval of the Commons at 104th Second Amendment PUD zone document to allow additional land uses for the 16.5-acre property generally located at the southeast corner of Potomac Street and East 104th Avenue. And a PUD amendment is simply just an amendment to an existing already approved PUD. And in this case, it'll be specifically to amend some commercial land uses within the land use table. So this will go in front of Planning Commission for recommendation to City Council. And with that, I'll invite the applicant up to make their presentation.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mark Campbell. I'm president of Southwestern Property Corp., who's the applicant in this case. I have with me one of the partners, Martine Eguiguren, sitting here, and let's see, Mateo Gonzalez and Jeffrey Hirschfeld there is with Antonoff and Company. He's a retail leasing expert. So they're here if you have any other questions. I will say at the outset, I am hearing impaired. I don't hear very well. If I miss your question, I don't mean to be rude or anything like that, but just I'll have one of these guys help me out if you have questions, okay? Southwestern has been fortunate to be in Commerce City since the year 2000. We've done more deals here than anywhere else in the country. We've been in 22 states. Personally, I've been before this county commission about 10 times, and we've developed about 15 different properties, including the 2 retail corners at the southeast and the southwest corner of Chambers 104th. Those were done, many years ago. You've probably been to some of those stores. I did want to thank Dalton particularly. He's been awesome to work with. The rest of the staff has been awesome to work with. And frankly, I made a mistake. We were before this body 23 months or 25 months ago, whatever it was, September of 22, and I was not here. I was actually with my son overseas. Only time I missed one, but I signed this First Amendment to the PUD and didn't read it carefully. And when I got back from my trip after the meeting, we realized that under the retail category, there's a chart we'll get into showing the permitted uses more or less. The only thing that was on there was clothing store. That's it. So I went to city manager and Jim, the community development director, in say February or March of 23, and that's been from then to now to get to the process where we are. So as you'll see when we get into this, there's seven spots that are different from the First Amendment that was approved in 2022. So here we go. We'll get into this. Here, you'll see them all anyway. So here's us, just a little about us. Joe Pelham's a partner. My daughter, Kelly Campbell, had a lot to do with it. She's on maternity leave. Yeah, we've been around a long time. We've done about 120 deals across the country. So this has been our very best location forever, and we have enjoyed the people here and appreciate it. Dalton went over the site. It's between Black Hawk and Potomac on the south side. It's a little bigger picture. So we're trying to point out what's in it for you. Okay, so right now, the retail section of the zoning doesn't really allow for a viable retail center. So there's a few uses in there that I would call non-retail, but under retail, it says clothing store. So obviously, to make a retail center, it's important to the city to do sales tax. In fact, at one point, we'd asked for all of this land to be a different use, and we were encouraged to do retail across the front, and then our company screwed it up and got it approved 2 years ago with just a clothing store. So we're suggesting that this attracts more customers. It does create local jobs for sure, because we can't build much in the way of retail here at this time. As you'll see, we're asking for a convenience store gas station, as provided we have charging stations for electrical vehicles. That was apparently a big topic of discussion in the last meeting 2 years ago. That's what we're asking today, because that's a use we could do, and it generates an awful lot of sales tax. Keep going. So here's the chart. Fortunately, hang on. So kind of under proposed changes is a blow up of what is in very small print on the right. So you'll see what we're asking to do is, this is really, I don't think it changed, but a fast food restaurant with or without drive-through is still a conditional use. What we're really asking for is a sit-down restaurant with a drive-through would be an unrestricted use or use by right. The third item you'll see in red is convenience store was a conditional use in what was approved in 22. We're asking that we're allowed to do that provided we have 2 electrical vehicle charging stations per island, and the islands are limited per code. Under brewery, brew pub, we are adding sports bar as a request. That just seems to be a popular use and would generate a lot of sales tax. Under retail instead of clothing store, we went back to the language, frankly, at the suggestion of some city staff, Jim, at the Director of Community Development, I guess he's still here. So we go back to the language before that any retail store under 25,000 square feet would be approved. Anything over that would be a conditional use. And then we added on the bottom, red, some uses that are not allowed. I guess you can read those yourself. That's really the long and short of it. We're just trying to correct a mistake that was made and make for a viable retail center. So with that, let me ask Martine. Martine, come up there. Any questions for me?
I have a question. So how many square feet do you have available for overall retail in the entire plan here?
Square footage in the whole plan?
Well, just a retail.
So in the retail, because we're right along 104th, we have done some leasing and some sales. So on the hard corner, which I'd say it's Potomac and 104th, we have a site plan. We have not submitted that yet, but very soon for a multi-tenant building. And Mr. Hirschfeld's doing the leasing in that building. And so far, we have a dentist, and we have an Indian restaurant. We had a mattress store, but it took, because of my mistake here, it took too long. They left. So that's about 10,000 feet. Then we have a couple of sales to users, and then we have a right-in, right-out proposed on 104th. And all that is the city's been reviewing a site plan for the parcel in the back now for about 1.5 years or 2 years, and that's coming before you pretty soon. Can tell you in the next few months. But there's no big major users there. It's kind of, and we just so you know, when we were here 2 years ago, we actually did have a car wash under contract, a Jiffy Lube under contract, and a Service Star, which is a maintenance facility under contract. And those 3 uses were all, when they passed it, this body passed it, those became unpermitted uses. So we just dropped those. So the only, I would say, auto use now we're asking for is really the C-store, provided we do the EV stations. Hope does that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers my question.
I mean, on each parcel is about 1 acre. I'm going to say there's going to be a building of 6,000 to 10,000 feet.
Okay.
And right now we're proposing 6 lots.
Okay, well, thank you. That actually answers my follow-up question with potential folks to fill those spots. Thanks.
Question? Okay. Anything else? Okay. Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. And yeah, if you bring an Indian restaurant, I think that'll make you very popular in the neighborhood, just from what I hear. And
I think we were told there. I know there were special incentives by the Economic Development Group for restaurants. Turn this ringing in my ear. But can you? It's ringing in my ears. Sorry. Turn that off.
yeah, we don't hear anything.
Okay. I use Bluetooth that goes to this is a cochlear implant. That's a hearing aid. Anyway, we've been looking for restaurants. This site, I would say, is a little bit of a tweener site. It's between two major north-south roads. So it's between Highway 2 and between Chambers. Chambers is really the epicenter retail in this general market. Going way back years ago, in '06, we bought those two corners at Chambers, 104th, and we had signed letters of intent with Safeway and King Soopers. And King Soopers is 72,000 square feet. Then the Great Recession happened. After that, everything died for like 4 or 5 years. They came back and their store size was 132,000 feet. So that's why they moved to the north side. I don't know if that answers your question, but we're trying to get restaurants, but it's not the most powerful retail site in northern Commerce City.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
So is it just going to be a C-store, or is it also going to be gas station?
Gas. We're proposing gas, is provided we have 2 electrical vehicle charging stations per island. Because in the last meeting, your body did not want gas. And so it became a conditional use. We're asking ours to be converted to a use by right, provided the EV stations are provided. That's what we're asking. In that one line, there's like 7 different changes.
Because I think it's a great area for commercial use. And there's a lot of different things that can go in there, but they're already building a gas station, and we have like 5 or 6 gas stations out there already.
You know,
So it'll be nice to have different, I'm just going to make a comment of what I read on Nextdoor, of people's comments in the public. And we have a lot of dentists. We have a lot of gas stations. We have a lot of childcare places. But there's things that we don't have, like a sit-down Indian restaurant, which would be
Well,
awesome.
we have that as a signed lease, so that's, and he's also a tenant in Commerce City. He actually owns a liquor store at 104th and Chambers. So, look, while we would love to have the C-store with gas because it would be a use we can sell, when this body decided we couldn't do anything auto-related, those were under contract and we had to drop those. But
Right.
it's your city, and you get to determine how you want it. So if you don't want a C-store, we won't do a C-store. I think it might be to your benefit, just given the sales tax, and given that we have other uses that were not allowed. We do have a couple other medical tenants coming in, I believe. So, and they don't generate any sales tax. So it depends what your goal is. If your goal is to have good service and and this is going to be a beautiful center with matching exteriors and thematically similar with materials and foresight of architecture. If you look at our center on 104th and Chambers on the east side, it's pretty nice, and that was built in '06. Look, we're not going to lose any sleep over it if you really don't want a C-store. It could be your benefit, but if you choose, that's your city. You get to do what you want.
I was just saying that we have a lot of, it seems like it's repeated business out there over and over in certain categories, but then there's a lot that's lacking.
I would say this, we've been leasing, and Jeffrey could attest to this, for well over 2 years, and we have 3 out of 6 lots spoken for and 3 available, one of which was a behavioral health tenant that wanted to buy a lot, and when we told him that we probably couldn't get him because of our delay, my delay, I signed the darn thing. I take this on me, but we couldn't really get him his spot built out, ready to go. He wanted us to build his building. We couldn't do that to the end of '26. And so he said, no, we went somewhere else. So he's probably before you in another planning commission spot. But I'm just saying, these lots are not flying out the door. And again, that's because it's not at Chambers and not at Tower Road. Those are the hot spots, I would say, for retail in this area.
Right, but there's going to be a lot of development, so it could be a hot spot. You have all of Reunion
I agree.
Ridge
It's
going
getting
all the
better
way
every
around,
day.
and all the rare, and then all the apartments and the townhomes and.
This annexation, you
could be.
approve additional housing just a few minutes ago is a big plus for the retail, for our site. That's going to generate a lot more
Right.
potential people coming to our center. So again, it's your body to decide. We'll live by whatever you say. We were hoping you would consider, provided there was EV stations, but if that in the end is not but you can tolerate, we understand.
I'm wondering, how do you judge the viability of, say, yeah, a gas station there or a convenience store? How do you figure out, oh yeah, there's a market for that?
How do we figure out if there's a use for that?
Yeah, if you have like the demand.
You know what? Jeffrey Hirschfeld can answer that better than I, but honestly, these stations decide, I don't even go looking for them. They
Right.
find us.
It's in their interest to
In
to
today's
find-
day and age,
Mhm.
our deal, Jeffrey's marketing through LoopNet, another internet-based software, and all. If a broker represents Conoco, and they say go to 104th to the North Range and find me a site, he will call Jeffrey.
Got it.
So it really comes from that side. We don't really, in the old days, and I'm old, we used to get on the phone, call everybody, do you want our site? But they don't do that anymore.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. All right. Staff presentation.
Thank you, Chair and Planning Commission. My name is Dalton Guerra, Senior Planner with the Commerce City Planning Division. Again, the location is at the southeast corner of Potomac Street and East 104th, and this is a PUD amendment to allow sit-down restaurants with drive-throughs, retail stores, and EV charging stations associated with fuel sales. The zoning is currently PUD, and the future land use designation is mixed use. So the original Commons at 104th PUD was approved in 2008. The first amendment to that PUD happened in 2022, and that amendment in 2022 was to allow multifamily residential on planning area B, which is the southern portion of the lot. And this amendment is an amendment number 2, which will modify some of the permitted commercial uses within planning area A, which is the northern portion along 104th. Here's a look at those planning areas I was just discussing. So outlined in red is planning area A, which is designated for commercial along 104th. And to the south is planning area B, which is the multifamily residential, which is currently being reviewed by staff for an apartment complex. To reiterate what Mark was going over in his presentation, so this is the first change you'll notice. And really the big change is defining what fast food is versus a sit-down restaurant. So fast food being defined as the ability to order food in the drive-through line, whereas sit-down, you have to order the food inside, and the drive-through is strictly for call-in or mobile orders only. And so a fast food with a drive-through would be a conditional use, which is not a change, but a sit-down restaurant with a drive-through or without one would be a use by right. And then the EV stations, again, being a requirement of any convenience store with fuel sales, and changing that to be a use by right, whereas in the previous amendment, it was a conditional use permit. And the retail, finally, where it used to say simply just clothing stores were allowed, now we are allowing retail stores less than 25,000 square feet by right, or if it's more than 25,000 square feet, it would be a conditional use. This request was reviewed by the Development Review Team and all the necessary agencies, and it was found that the approval criteria for a PUD has been met. Some considerations, again, allowing some of these additional commercial uses may provide more opportunity for more businesses along 104th. And the EV stations being required with fuel sales is a big change, and then making those fuel sales a use by right as opposed to a conditional use. And just to reiterate that there's no changes proposed to this PUD besides the land use table that we've shown tonight, strictly for planning area A. Nothing will be changed for the planning area B, which is for multifamily residential. There's a number of PUD approval criteria that have been outlined in the staff report. Happy to go through any of these individually again at your request. But with that, my presentation has concluded. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for staff? No. Okay. Then, do we have any public testimony? Is anyone here? All right. Do we have any testimony virtually online?
No one signed up beforehand, and we have no one that has raised their hand currently.
Okay, then I'll close the public hearing. And do we have a motion?
I move the Planning Commission enter a finding the requested PUD zone document amendment for the property located at the southeast corner of Potomac Street and East 104th Avenue, containing case PUD A23-0003, meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and based upon such finding, recommend the City Council approve the PUD amendment.
All right, do we have a second?
I will second.
All right, commission we have a motion and a second. Is there anyone like to discuss this at all? Deliberate? All right. Please open.
I think the only thing I heard so far, just whether or not we want another gas station. I think that this is probably offset by the other commercial enterprises that they seem to have lined up at this point in time. And I'm not crazy about another gas station, but I think having a restaurant is a fair trade-off in this instance. So I don't know if anyone wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, thinking about it, and just thinking about going down 104th and that drive, there are no other gas stations at the other four corners of that intersection. It's not like, massively gas stations every single spot. And also, even going down that drive, either from this location to the west or to the east, you actually have to drive a little ways before you'll get to a gas station that's on the corner there, like this one is proposing. Now that new one is coming in, and so I guess, but that's a good eighth quarter of a mile down the street, I think, where the new one is being built right now. And it's on the north side, where this is on the south side. I agree, I don't know how many gas stations are too many or not, but right now it doesn't seem too crazy congested with gas stations, to be honest.
But I agree with you, it's a good trade-off to have an Indian restaurant and to have a gas station.
Yeah, definitely. I get that sense from people I talk to that in that area that they want more upscale and adult options and things like Indian restaurant. It's just exactly what people would love to see.
Right.
That kind of. So it's nice that I'm really glad that they have that. They got the message, the developers, and they understand. Okay. Yes, then please open electronic voting. All right, and the results are 5-0 in favor of the case, and 0 abstains. Thank you very much. All right, will staff please call the next case? Anytime you're ready. No rush. We have people sitting down and moving around.
The next item on the agenda is case Z-979-24. Apple Green is requesting approval of a zone change for one approximately 4.4 acre lot from agricultural to C3, which is Regional Commercial District. The subject property is located at 9021 East E470 along the eastern northbound side of E470 between East 88th Avenue and East 96th Avenue. And specifically, just for the commission members' knowledge, the zone change requested, this is similar to the PUD zoning requested earlier with Anderson Ranch. However, the design standards and allowable uses, as well as bulk standards such as maximum height and setbacks, those are all defined within the Land Development Code and not their own zoning code. But so this is all defined within the city's LDC.
Okay, thank you. All right, applicant presentation.
Chair, I'd just like to confirm, was it your intention to open a public hearing on this matter?
Yes, I guess I did not formally say that, did I?
No.
Thank you. That is exactly my intention.
Thank you, Chair.
Please continue.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Malloy. I'm the construction director for Apple
Mm-hmm.
Green. Hi, my name is Anthony Malloy. I'm the construction director for Apple Green. We also have our US president, Zach Collias, and Matt Scally, our head of operations. They're dialing in remotely. We also have our E470 team and our civil engineers here available for any questions after as well. So I know it's late in the evening, I'm gonna just do a quick presentation and give a bit of background about Apple Green. who we are, what we do, and how what we're proposing here for these sites. So Applegreen were founded in 1992. We specialize in food to go, convenience stores, and fuel distribution. We're the #1 motorway service area operator in Ireland, #2 in the UK, and #1 in the US. We focus on food and convenience store retailing. That's the core of our platform. You can see a little blurb about our workforce. We have currently 17,000 employees spread over the US, Ireland, and the UK. We have 56.7% of our current workforce is female. Just to give you some background on our founders are Bob Etchingham and Joe Barrett. They're intimately involved in day-to-day goings for the projects in Applegreen currently. As mentioned, we focus on gas, fuel and store, restaurant and EV charging. There's 180 sites in the US. We have 167 in the UK, and we have 192 in Ireland. So as I mentioned, we started in 1992. We opened one service plaza back then, and we spread to what you'll see there today. And then our gas, fuel, and store, we focus on food to go, convenience stores. We have over 600 sites and 17,000 people. For the restaurants, you'll see that we have all these brands: Chick-fil-A, KFC, Burger King, to name but a few. And I'll go into that in more detail, what we're proposing for the Commerce City sites. And also we have the EV charging. Our goal is to have EV charging on every service plaza that we have in the US. So here's our trusted partners. The sites for Commerce City North, we're looking to put in a Starbucks, a Shake Shack, and a Panda Express. For Commerce City South, we're looking to put in a Starbucks, a Burger King, and a Popeyes. And then you can see there's other partners that we have: McDonald's, Subway, Taco Bell, KFC, to name but a few. And then our portfolio in the rest of the US, we're currently operating in the Northeast in Massachusetts, Maine, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. In the Southeast, it's South Carolina, and in the Midwest, Ohio and Indiana. In New York, we're in the tail end of completing the New York State Thruway Authority plazas. Over the last 5 years, it's been 27 sites, so we've got 6 of them left. We're going to finish the last one middle of 2025. And then for the Colorado sites, you can see here we're looking to propose the 2 Commerce City sites, and then one at Aurora and one at Parker. The New York sites, you can see the design. We're focusing on the customer experience, that the customer comes in and the experience with the big glass windows, and just an overall experience for the customer, that they enjoy their time there. We also focus on the restrooms. We have a lot of effort and design put into our restrooms at each of the service plazas. For the New Jersey sites, we're at the tail end of that project also. We've got 1 site left to be completed. It was completed over 5 phases, and all sites were completed on schedule as agreed. Here you can see one of the New Jersey sites at Brookdale. You can see the large glass windows. You can see the interior for the customer experience. This is actually going to be a very similar site to what we're proposing in Colorado. So the reason for the glass windows is obviously to let the light in, but also as you're driving up, you can see the food offers that are being offered there. As mentioned previously, the Applegreen Electric, the goal is to have Applegreen EV on all of our service plazas. And here's just a few photos of those. Then our CSR commitments, we have a first of all, we're fostering a low carbon future. By 2050, we're looking to have net zero carbon emission scope. And then we have a decarbonization strategy also. We also want to support our customers and communities. We do that through various charities, which I'll show you on the next slide. But then also we contribute to the development of our employees. We focus on a culture, sports and social, inclusion and diversity, training, wellness, and a manager program. And then finally, we adopt new sources of clean energy, the EV and low fuel card. The last slide is just showing us the charities that we invest in, and we focus on the charities from local sites and also from local staffing. So here are some of the charities that we focus on: Florida Circle of Hope, Toys for Tots, American Diabetes Association, and No Kid Hungry. So at this point of the presentation, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck Weiss from E470, who can give a brief overview of E470 and what they do.
Thanks, Anthony. Good evening. I'm Chuck Weiss. I'm the engineering manager for E470. I've been working with the Applegreen Group here for several years. And first of all, I just want to say that the authority, we're excited to be working with Applegreen. We were the first tolling agency in the U.S. to go cashless back in 2009. So we had 5 buildings that have basically been sitting empty for several years now. High operating cost, obviously maintenance and other items that add up in cost. So our board has always been very adamant about trying to repurpose these areas and actually do something for our customers out there. So this is really a customer service project as far as we're concerned. We first issued an RFP for this back in 2019. Applegreen was our preferred vendor on this. So in 2021, we actually executed a 35-year lease with Applegreen to design, construct, and operate these for the 35 years with some additional years on the end there as optional. So we're excited to work with them. We feel this is a good customer service benefit for our customers. The other thing is the north end here in Commerce City and then going north to I-25, we feel is kind of underserved as far as retail here. We feel this is a really good opportunity to provide something back to the cities, the customers that actually drive this area right here, and just a benefit. So the authority is excited about this, and just appreciate your time. Thank you.
I'm going to hand this back to Nathan, but just big picture, just wanted to mention the intention is for the Commerce City sites to, if everything goes to plan, the intention is the sites start construction first or second quarter of 2025. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, staff presentation.
Good evening again, Planning Commission members. So the applicant Applegreen is requesting approval of a zone change from agricultural AG to C3 Regional Commercial District for the 4.4 acre site in order to develop a travel service plaza. Please note there is one concurrent case, a development plan currently under review by staff, and staff has included the proposed elevations and site plan within your packet just so the commission members can understand what final build out would look like if this zone change were approved. So generally, the property is located along the eastern side of E470 between East 88th Avenue and East 96th Avenue. Surrounding zoning includes PUDs as well as a public zoning. And then per section 21-4110, district conversion of the LDC, the E470 right-of-way is zoned agricultural. I understand it doesn't reflect that on the current zoning map in front of you, but staff has determined through analysis of the LDC that E470 is zoned agricultural. So the comprehensive plan, future land use plan, designates the surrounding areas as commercial, this red on the right, and then office flex on the western side of E470. The future land use plan and the comprehensive plan specifically provides flexibility to unforeseen opportunities in the plan, and as long as objectives are met, and commercial designations are adjacent to the right-of-way. And so therefore, staff has determined that the subject property FLUP designation is commercial. And the commercial future land use designation has related zoning of C1, C2, and C3. And so staff has found that the proposed C3 zoning district is appropriate given the adjacent commercial designation. This is an aerial that was taken February 24th of this year. The property outlined in red contains the previous E470 administrative building, and the current plan is to demolish this building and raise and grade the rest of the site in order to develop the service plaza. So the following photos were taken July 11th of this year. This is a view from the site just off of E470 facing southward. And then this is another photo just to the east, and it's facing westward. And you can see the existing E470 building, as well as, I guess it's kind of hard to see, but there's E470 right here, and then the old toll booths are right here where my mouse is. So the proposed zone change has been reviewed by all relevant DRT agencies, such as planning, engineering, the Water District, Adams County Health Department, the Colorado Department of Public Health and the Environment, and our Traffic Public Works Division. Staff has found that the application meets the approval criteria for a zone change, and an analysis of all the approval criteria can be found within your packets, and staff can pull up any approval criteria and discuss them in detail as you wish. Lastly, staff is proposing one condition to accommodate a potential on-site wastewater treatment facility for the proposed development. Currently, the site is approximately 0.85 miles away from any South Adams County water infrastructure, and the proposed on-site wastewater is to accommodate the proposed travel plaza at this location. And lastly, specifically, the Water District requested that Commerce City Planning include that condition during the zoning, as well as future building permits and construction documents as we move forward through the process, if approved. So lastly, staff has noted the following items for consideration by this body. The zone change is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The zone change allows the site to develop as a vehicular travel plaza, which would include EV charging stations, a convenience store, fueling stations, as well as dining options. It is unlikely that any other form of development would fit within this area. E470 is a major gateway into Commerce City, and this is another development that would be within Commerce City, and there's quite a bit of travelers who head both northbound on E470. And lastly, staff has received no public comment for this application. Staff is available for any questions. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you for the presentations. Any questions for the applicant or staff?
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Chavez. Sorry, I have a question for Mr. Chavez. Did the 400-foot utility barrier, that's the SAWSCD, did they explain why they picked 400 or 500 in their determination for that?
Staff was not given an explanation. I will look to the applicants if they were provided an explanation. But generally, staff was told by the Water District President Director that 400 feet is the threshold for connection.
Okay.
And I guess lastly, it's also worth noting the applicants, Applegreen, are looking at two options. One option is to actually connect to the Water District, and the second option is to build out the on-site wastewater treatment facility. At this time, staff is unaware of what option will proceed, but that's usually handled during the development plan process and construction documents and building permits. So that happens later on.
Okay. All right, and there's just another thing out of just curiosity. I didn't know like major arterials like interstates and E470 actually had block numbers like 9022. Do they all have that?
Typically, no.
Okay.
Applegreen and E470 had to apply to the city to create a plat, and so there are two plats that are awaiting recordation, but they will be legally platted, hopefully here within the next week.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
I have some simple questions. So the applicant's presentation mentioned motorway food service. I guess that means highway. That's what we're talking about, like in American? Okay. Okay, cool. I actually had no idea. Right, so basically what this is like kind of like a rest area on a highway. And I lived in Germany for 5 years. So I'm kind of used to, I think it's like, I've seen that system there. Cool, more commercial model for that. That's what we're talking about. So there's no access behind it, like to the houses or whatever. It's just in and out off the highway is what we're talking about.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, cool. Just get on the same page. Thank you very much. Okay, I guess I think we're good with that. And is there any public testimony here today? No? Do we have any public testimony virtually?
No one signed up beforehand and no one has raised their hand currently.
All right, would the applicant like to make a response to anything here? Not necessary if you don't. Okay. Excellent. So I will, at this time, I'll now close the public hearing for the case. And can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'm sorry, I lost my spot on my plat. I'd like to move the planning commission or finding the requested zone change for the property located at 9022 E470 containing case Z97924. It meets the criteria of land development code based upon such finding, but recommend the city council approve the zone change with the following conditions. Number one, once the Adams County Water and Sanitation District has utilities constructed within 400 feet of the project location, the owner will be required to connect to the water district's utilities at that time.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, please open electronic voting. All right, the results of the vote are 5 yeses and 0 noes in favor of the case. Excellent. I'll now open the public hearing for the next case, and please go ahead and announce the case.
The next item on the agenda is case Z-980-24. Apple Green is requesting approval of a zone change for one approximately 4.47 acre lot from agricultural AG to C3 Regional Commercial District. The subject property is located at 9022 E470 along the western southbound side of E470 between East 88th Avenue and East 96th Avenue. And similar to the last case, the zone change stipulates the land uses, bulk standards, design standards, all found within the city's land development code.
Mm-hmm. All right. Would the applicant like to present anything particular about this side? No. Yeah, okay. Staff?
Good evening, Planning Commission. I will give a very brief presentation. Proposed a zone change similar to the northbound site, Z-979-24. The only two differences in either case is, or I guess 3 differences. One is the location. This is southbound on the western side, different address as well. The proposed zone change is for a lot that's slightly larger, 4.47 acres as opposed to 4.4 for the northbound side. And then the only difference, I guess to answer a commissioner's question from the last item, is that there is a future build out of a path from the future E470 trail into the E470 site for bikers and pedestrians to access the site. Certainly bikers and pedestrians aren't allowed on E470, right, the actual highway, but similar to a European or German type of development, pedestrian connectivity and biker connectivity to dining options is something that the city fought for when reviewing this application. Other than that, everything is exactly the same, and staff has found that the proposed zone change meets the approval criteria. It's consistent with the comprehensive plan, and staff has received no public comment for this application. And myself and the applicants are ready to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on this one?
What PUD is around it? Is going to be all commercial around the service centers?
To the west is the Legato PUD, and currently those land uses, those planning areas call for retail, commercial, office type of land uses. Staff has not received any concrete applications for this area highlighted on the screen, but commercial and retail land uses are allowed and planned there. And I don't believe any residential along the E470 right-of-way for the Legato PUD. And to the east is the prime sites. It's what staff calls a preliminary PUD, and the applicants or the owners of the prime sites PUD would have to come through the public hearing process, Planning Commission, City Council, to finalize the PUD and the allowed land uses. So for the east side, long story short, is currently there really isn't a designated land use on the eastern side, but if you look at the future land use plan, currently the designations are commercial along the eastern side of E470.
Sorry, just to chime in, looking at the Legato PUD, it does allow for office flex, is the designation of planning area R right there along the proposed zone change.
I didn't hear what you said.
Sorry, so the Legato PUD designates that area as office flex. As a, so
okay.
that's the allowable land uses right there adjacent to this site.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any public testimony? Anyone here on this issue? All right. Do we have any public testimony virtually?
No one signed up beforehand, and no one has raised their hand currently.
All right, then. Applicant, with anything else? Okay. So at this time, I will close the public hearing for the case. Can I get a motion?
I would like to make a motion for approval with conditions. The Planning Commission, I move that the Planning Commission enter a finding that the requested zone change for the property located at 9022 East 470 contained in case Z979-24 meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and based upon such finding, recommend that the City Council approve the zone changes with the following conditions. Number one, once the South Adams County Water and Sanitation District has utilities constructed within 400 feet of the project location, the owner will be required to connect to SACW SD utilities at that time.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by the commission. Is there any discussion? My only comment, I had a comment. I think it's great that we're going to reuse and fix up this E470 location and these structures, which aren't doing any good to anybody right now, and that's great. I'm glad to see that kind of synergy happening. All right, please open electronic voting. Okay, and the results are 5 yes, 0 no, in favor of the case passing. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Do you know where vacations? This one?
All right. Let's see here. So, comprehensive plan. I'll open the I'll open the final public hearing this evening and ask Interim Community Development Director Jeff Brazel to please announce this item.
Thank you, Chair Schechter. This is only a staff presentation, so it's different from the other ones. I'm the only one speaking tonight unless there's anybody from the public during the public hearing that wishes to testify.
Okay.
So thank you for the opportunity to present the comprehensive plan to the Planning Commission this evening. I'm Jeff Brazel, the Interim Community Development Director. We are asking that Planning Commission this evening provide a recommendation to City Council on whether to adopt with conditions, or not adopt the 2040 comprehensive plan. The Commission's recommendation will be forwarded to City Council consideration at their September 16th meeting. This is just generally the order of the public hearing tonight. I will provide a presentation of the comprehensive plan. Will be available for any questions that the Commission has. Then we'll have public testimony, then Planning Commission deliberation, and voting after that. I want to provide just a somewhat in-depth presentation for the Commission. There's two purposes of this. Is one, we have new commissioners on the dais tonight, and I wanted to provide them with just some overview of that. And also, in case anybody's listening at home and is curious about this important document, give them some clarity on that. I will attempt not to dive into the weeds too much, just give a fairly high altitude view of what the comprehensive plan document is, how the comprehensive plan document came to be, and then walk through the plan with the Commission, and then also talk about the Commission requested changes based upon the study session last month. So what is the comprehensive plan? The comprehensive plan is an advisory document to help guide the city's development over the next 20 years and has two high-level objectives. First, it serves as a roadmap for the physical development of the city, including detail on land uses, high-level goals on mobility, infrastructure planning, economic development, parks, and open space. The plan isn't all-encompassing, but it does set the foundation for future implementation efforts or informing future topical plans, such as our recently adopted Parks and Recreation Plan and our ongoing transportation plan initiatives. Second, the comprehensive plan serves as a vision document and a values document to help inform decision-making by city planning staff, our boards and commissions, city council, and to be used in instances to help inform our future budgets and future regulatory actions that the city might consider, such as adopting the new land development code that is also currently being drafted based upon this document. The plan is not law or regulatory in nature, but it does inform future regulations. It is not a detailed blueprint for how to achieve specific outcomes. Much of that work is still to come, and it isn't all-encompassing to the point where it would prohibit the city from pursuing topics or strategies that are not articulated in the plan. Finally, the plan is not meant to be a static document for the next 20 years. We should evaluate the comprehensive plan on a periodic basis to review whether the assumptions that the comprehensive plan was built upon are still valid or warrant changing. These graphics on the screen kind of just show the relationship of the comprehensive plan to some of these other things like future sub-area plans or future topical plans and development of the city, decision-making, regulations, and so forth. So it's a key document to help guide the city moving forward. So how did we get here? The plan was initiated in 2020. A consultant was selected through the city's standard procurement process. The main consultant was Housel Levine and Associates. The process included robust community engagement, market and demographic analysis, and work with multiple groups to inform the direction of the planning document. We're currently at the last stage, which is plan adoption. Because the comprehensive plan's visionary and foundational aspect, it needed to be generated first and foremost from a robust community engagement process. This engagement process lends a certain legitimacy to the document, which can provide a level of confidence that our community, for our community that the plan reflects its will. In addition to community engagement, several working groups were established to assist with the plan document. A citizens advisory committee comprised of 15 community members representing a cross-section of the community, including members of existing city commerce boards, residents, business owners, and developers, was convened. A technical advisory committee was also formed that included representatives from several regional government and quasi-governmental agencies, including the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, school districts, the South Adams County Water and Sanitation District, RTD, DRCOG, Adams County adjacent municipalities, CDOT, and the Fire District, among other entities. There was also a staff working group that consisted of members of all the city departments, and this was to ensure that the plan was coordinated with city operations and those department goals. And then the Planning Commission and City Council were also engaged at multiple points through the process. But most importantly, the public outreach effort to engage the community was significant, and it was done throughout the entire process itself. This infographic kind of shows a summary of all the community engagement that occurred through the multiple years that this plan has been in development. For example, there were a total of 48 meetings and workshops of various formats held throughout the community, in person, virtually, and also there was information posted to the website, community mailers, and lots of tactical engagement opportunities. This map shows areas within the community that we physically engaged with the community. So these were not virtual or electronic outreach, but were actual in-person events. And the goal was to include different areas of the community and make sure they were involved in the development of this plan. On the screen are some key outreach takeaways that were obtained through the public outreach process. The plan kind of goes into a little bit more detail about what each of these topics are. But uniting Commerce City was a theme throughout the document. Balancing growth and investment, the desire for more local commercial businesses, and I think that was expressed tonight by the commission as well. Reinvestment into the core city, promoting a variety of housing choices for different types of families and different individuals with different needs and at different price points. Ensuring that development is compatible, providing additional homeless support, creating additional public spaces, particularly in the downtown area or the old core city area, promoting fiscal sustainability, diversifying our industry, and other important topics. The plan draft was available last year, so June of last year, and it actually went through a series of public hearings. There were some technical snafus that bring us to tonight that had to do with the initial notice of those public hearings. So here we are a year later, and we're asking the new Planning Commission to reconsider this document and provide a recommendation to City Council. So the plan is organized into 13 chapters. The first 3 chapters provide the background and data about the community which informed the plan. Chapters 4 and 5 are the heart of the plan and contain the vision, core principles, goals, and the land use plan. Chapters 6 through 12 are deeper dives into different topical areas, and chapter 13 is the implementation strategy. The plan is kind of built upon a foundation, and the concepts in the plan build upon each other. And this kind of graphic is to kind of show like the hierarchy of the concepts within the plan and how they relate to each other. So at the top, we have our plan vision. This is the overarching statement of how we envision Commerce City will be in 2045. Underneath that, there are core principles that are articulated, and these are described as values of the Commerce City community to provide a lens in which implementation of the plan should be evaluated through. There are plan elements, and these are topical subjects that are in the plan that are discussed, and then there are goals and objectives. So this is how we implement the plan vision. And then there are frameworks and recommendations, and these are more specific plan guidance on the elements that are organized around sub-areas of the community. So this is our vision statement that's articulated in the comprehensive plan. So Commerce City is a thriving community, economically strong, environmentally sustainable, and socially equitable. Commerce City is a healthy and safe city where fresh air, clean water, public health, and the preservation of natural open space are paramount. Commerce City is a financially sound city where businesses flourish through collaboration and innovation. Commerce City is a diverse community that celebrates its unique history, identity, and culture, where families and individuals of all ages can work or live, work, and play. So you'll see elements of the public engagement key themes being represented into this vision statement. These are the 4 core principles, or what the plan calls values, that are articulated within the plan. Welcoming an equitable city, safe, healthy, and livable city, economically thriving city, and an environmentally responsible city. And the plan includes these intent statements underneath each of those principles. And these themes are woven throughout the document. These are the plan elements. Again, these are those topical areas which the plan goes into detail. Character areas, connected corridors, commerce and employment, housing neighborhoods, arts, cultural, tourism, transportation and mobility, parks, open space and the environment, and public facilities infrastructure. These core elements build upon the character areas, and I'll go into a little bit of detail on what that is in a moment, and provide policies and recommendations for each contributing land use and key development area within Commerce City. The first one of these elements is the character areas and land use. And so this is a different approach to a land use map. The commission saw the current comprehensive plan land use map at various points tonight. And what this proposes to do is just define broad character areas that are cohesive areas of the community that have very similar character, form, and function within them. And within each character area, there are multiple land uses that are being promoted. And there's just slightly different flavors or balances of land uses within each of these character areas. The character areas also include a land use chart, and that's kind of shown on the lower right-hand part of the screen. And this will help inform us what types of land uses that the zoning code and the land development code will permit within each of these particular areas. There is this concept of connected corridors, and we talked about this a bit at the study session last month. And the naming is a little bit odd in that it promotes an idea, but it's not really necessarily about promoting that idea cohesively through a connected corridor policy. What these are actually more detailed sub-area plans or corridor plans that are embedded within the comprehensive plan document. In each corridor, each of the 8 corridors were analyzed for specific land use, infrastructure, connectivity, and open space opportunities in that. So these are like plans within a plan. And the theme is that these corridors connect the community. And so this is kind of what one of these looks like. So each connected corridor has an area plan map with ideas that are articulated, and those ideas are expanded upon on the following page with some specific direction about what should occur along these particular corridors. Chapters 7 through 12 go into these topical frameworks, and each of these frameworks takes a deeper dive into that specific topic. So the housing and neighborhood framework includes something on residential areas and residential outcomes. And it takes a deeper dive in each of these smaller areas within the broader character areas and provides additional guidance on how residential should be developed in those areas and what that residential should look like. And finally, the last chapter of the plan is on plan implementation. It references these 5 high-level strategies to implement the plan. So reference the plan regularly, and the commission will be doing that to help inform your decisions on future zoning requests and other other actions that will appear before the commission based upon what the Land Development Code provides. This comprehensive plan will serve as a basis for updating our regulations. So again, we want regulations to represent our more updated vision that the comprehensive plan articulates. We don't want regulations that are contrary to what we're trying to achieve in the comprehensive plan. Use the document to inform our city's investments around infrastructure and open spaces and parks. And then there's regular updating. So we need to keep this plan viable over a long period of time. And then lastly, there's this action matrix, which has it takes all the specific recommendations and strategies that are in the plan, puts them in one place, provides a description of what that action item is, provides an ideal time frame for implementation, provides a ranking of how hard it will be or easy it will be to actually achieve this implementation item, and then it ties it back to those core principles, one of those four core principles. So that was just a very quick and high-level presentation on the plan. At the study session last month, Planning Commission did request some changes. Those changes were both grammatical and wording and also graphical. We documented that discussion in your staff memo that's in the staff report. And the intent is that based upon Planning Commission's recommendation tonight, we would try to implement those changes prior to City Council, the City Council hearing, should the Planning Commission make that a recommended condition of adoption. So with that, that's my presentation. I'm glad to answer any questions that the commission has before we open it up to public input.
Do we have any questions? No? Or yes?
I do have questions, but they might not be relevant to the rest of this proceeding. So maybe can I ask questions after the public comments?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, then. Oh, yes. Do we have any public comments? Is anyone here comment publicly on the plan? Okay, hi. Yeah, come up and state your name and address for us.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Jim Harmon, 2200 South LaPan Street, Denver. So I've been a developer and a property owner in Commerce City since 1996. I developed Eagle Creek, the first new development in Commerce City, since I think the 60s at the time. I've worked with staff and the consultants through the entire 4-year process. I chaired one of the charrettes. Our property that we still own a piece of, but are still involved in all of, is Aberdeen. It was originally over 200 acres in the PUD. We recorded the PUD, I think, in late 2003, early 2004, did the master development work in 2006 and 7, built the first phase of Bonneview, and 2008 happened. And since then, very little has happened. I think another developer built the final part of the first phase of Bonneview. One of the things that happened at Bonneview was that we envisioned a almost 1 million square foot outdoor mall. We actually, at the time of entitlement, had Target and Lowe's as tenants. Target opened the Northfield store in about 2005, and Lowe's opened the Brighton store about the same time. And those two stores ended up being their two worst openings in the Western United States at the time. So as you can guess, they both went away. Since then, the world has changed. Amazon's become part of our life, and those types of uses no longer exist. We've been working with staff for probably 8 or 9 years talking about how the world's changed and what the proper uses at Aberdeen would become. And so now I think that all the conversations, everything that we've had, we all came to the same conclusion. We have the limited commercial, the pads and properties we developed along 104th and Peoria. And then we think that there's going to be a significant portion of mixed-use residential from higher densities down to townhomes, and in the back portion, still going to be single-family, small lot, things like that. And I think the comprehensive plan, the consultants and the staff have done a great job getting to the same point where we are, or maybe we've all gotten there together, I don't know. With that, I just think that your staff and your consultant team has done a wonderful job. It's taken too long to get here, I think, but that's life. If you got my letter I sent today, there's one word that I don't like on page 113. The graphic has the uses that we all agree upon, but then you go to 113 and it says residential east of Highway 2, and actually we have a couple thousand homes west, but just west. And I think, that's something that should be clarified, because God forbid I'm here like Mark Campbell, signing something that wasn't what we all thought we were doing. But again, I'd like to thank staff, and the old staff maybe, for all the hard work. And you commissioners, I watched your planning session, and I know that something we've all looked at for 4 years, you guys went, we've got to learn this in 30 days. But thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. If there's any questions?
I just wanted to ask, this is great. Do you usually read things with this much attention to detail? I'm impressed what you found.
I have this bad, maybe good habit of, yes, I do look at things in very great detail.
Great, thank you. This is very helpful.
Thanks.
Okay then. Oh, yes.
Keep going.
I was going to say, is there any public comment virtually?
There is no virtual public comment.
All right then. I'm ready to close the public hearing from the case. Can I get a motion?
Chair, just for your, there's no motions in the staff report, so I put some drafted motions up on the slides for your consideration.
Okay.
And just tell me which one you want to work off of, but there's this one for recommendation of approval, and then there's one for, we call it denial, but it should be not adopt option. And so hopefully it helps with your deliberations.
Before we go to that, can I ask a couple questions?
Yeah, let's have some deliberation first, I would say, before even, yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me what changes were made once the draft was proposed or the draft was put on the website? Have there been any changes to the draft referencing input from community or other staff members? Has anything been changed?
No, nothing's been changed to my knowledge in the working draft document.
Did you receive any recommendations from that time, though?
Not that I'm aware of, other than what the work of the commission.
Was this presented in Spanish anywhere?
So one of our planners is bilingual, so he was able to, at some of the outreach events, speak to the contents, but there is not currently a Spanish version of the comprehensive plan. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's 257 pages. I don't think you read the whole plan to anybody at one of the outreaches, but we probably should have considered that.
Yeah, Mr. Berry, sorry, I don't have the benefit of going through the 4 years of, but I believe there were some community events specifically targeted to that demographic. Is that, do you have any recollection?
Yeah, so some of our working documents, like the questions we were asking, the big boards that we had people dotting maps and providing comments were provided in both languages, especially at some of the events like the Concert in the Park series and the like that are over here at Pioneer Park. So there's been opportunities for them to provide, but like I said, there's not currently a full Spanish-speaking draft.
So they may have provided input, but nothing's ever been changed, even with input?
Obviously, their input was weighed along with everyone else's for making plans to the comprehensive plan draft. I think that's something that was talked about at the study session is having, once the plan was to be adopted, to create a Spanish version. But so far, nothing has been done to that effort. Does that make sense? Answer your question?
I understand your answer. I don't think that it makes a lot of sense that nothing has ever been changed. This is the draft, and we've had a lot of outreach, and everyone said it was perfect as it was.
Oh, no, sorry, I get your question now. So obviously, with the ongoing, I think, to my knowledge, there's been at least 3 versions of the final draft, as
There we
well
go.
as.
Okay, that's what I was hoping
As
for.
long as, along with like sections that have been provided at those outreach events for public comment.
So we have had change.
Correct.
To this, okay.
Yeah,
I was worried that it was presented, we got outreach, and nothing was changed.
I apologize, Commissioner. I was making the assumption since the first public hearing back in 2023, has any changes been made? That's what my frame of reference was.
Well,
What
that makes me feel a little
Mr. Berry
better.
talked about is a more usual outcome of these projects.
All right. Also, it's been referenced as this is to be a living document, that we can make changes. How are we proposing this?
Yeah, so obviously, the first step is adopting it. And then once we adopt it, the next step is actually utilizing it. And so I would recommend that every few years we have a conversation, not only with the Planning Commission, but City Council and other boards and commissions about, is the plan still relevant? Are there tweaks that we need to make to it? And do it in a coordinated and intentional effort. So ideally, we do these look backs at least every 5 years. But if, as we get into the document, we discover that there might be additional tweaks, we can have those conversations sooner than that as well.
Thank you.
Just going back to the first question, so the plan hasn't been translated, is that correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
And if that's something that the commission wants to recommend, I think that would be a good
Well,
recommendation.
I'd like to think that we should do something like that. We have approximately 50%, right, in our community. And I don't remember statistics in going through that as far as demographics go, but how many, what would you say the percentage is of Spanish-speaking families or Spanish as a first language in the community?
Give me a moment and I'll pull that up.
I'll give you a moment. I'll give you all the time you need.
I'd be interested in,
It's actually in the comprehensive plan.
is it,
Oh, it is. I know, but I
Yes,
don't.
it is.
to be specific though, I believe the data in the comprehensive plan doesn't answer the question we want. I don't remember it. Maybe it does. You're correct, 50% of our population is Latino, Hispanic.
I don't think it was 50% speak
But-
Hispanic, though. I
No,
think it was
it's-
like 38%.
Right. So I think the question that we would really want to know when deciding do we need to undergo the expense of translating it is, what is the percentage of people who do not have English skills, who only speak Spanish? Does that make sense? Who lack English fluency? That would be the thing to know. I don't know if we have that kind of data.
Well, we do outside of the comprehensive plan, and the American Community Survey, so the Census Bureau provides that data, and
Oh,
it's
cool.
What was
Excellent.
it, 47%.
So 47% of our population
Speak Spanish at home. That doesn't.
Okay.
What we don't know is if that's the only language.
Right, I'm getting at, what percentage needs it translated, right? Like, I think it's good things to translate for people.
No,
but-
no,
yeah.
commissioners, I think this is a very valid and fair point.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm just kind of equivocating a little bit is because I don't know the history of
Of
that
course.
conversation.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a valid message to forward to city council.
Okay.
It's absolutely, and it's a good practice. Like, we live in a multicultural city. It is an important value of the community. It's articulated in the conference plan. These are things that we should look into doing.
Yeah, great.
So should we add that as a condition to a motion?
Yes, that would be, I mean, it's up to the commission for that, but
But would that be a valid point
that
to
would be a
add
valid,
as a condition?
yes, absolutely.
That would be my preference.
I'm sorry?
That would be my preference to add that.
Specifically, what do you, when you say that, what would you want to add?
Essentially, that we translate the plan so that it's available to all citizens.
Oh,
I think once the plan is completed and adopted, that it should be available and in English and Spanish.
I think it should have been before, and that
Agreed.
way they could have had their input. So I think we must have voted on that a little bit already.
I'm not persuaded yet. I haven't seen any data that says that we need to translate to Spanish.
Well, that's just one of my comments, was that it wasn't. And that actually came from Jennifer Jones, who said that one of the biggest recommendations they had at one of their outreaches was that it isn't in Spanish. So that came from Jennifer Jones.
I'm sorry, who's Jennifer Jones?
Wasn't she the planning?
Jennifer was our previous planning manager.
Okay. To me, that's important, but that is also anecdotal data is how I see that. To me, the data I would want before a large outlay, I mean, I don't know how large this is, but is what is the need-based. That's what I was like talking about at the last meeting. Yeah, what's the percentage of people who need it in Spanish? That'd be really interesting to know in all areas of city services.
Yeah, so I'm actually, Chairman, I'm looking at page 45 of the plan. And it does have some information at language spoken at home. So a third of Commerce City's population speaks a language other than English at home. And most of them speak Spanish. Across all geographies, English is the predominant language spoken at home in Commerce City. However, 66.7% of residents speak only English, which is far below Colorado's rate of 83.1%. Over twice the rate of residents in Commerce City speak Spanish compared to the Colorado average, with almost a third of the city's population speaking Spanish. So, and it does talk about importance of reducing that barrier, that language barrier. And so, I mean, the commission should deliberate this condition. But I think it is important to acknowledge that this is not a small minority within our community, and that there might be benefit. And that's for City Council to deliberate as well based upon your recommendation. And if City Council feels that this is important, then they will hopefully provide the resources to get this accomplished.
Well, I'd like to have it included as a recommendation and let City Council do it as they may. They obviously have the final word, but I think that would be part of my recommendation.
Okay, what exactly are you recommending though?
A point of order. We're kind of reaching the point of deliberation right now, and we're kind of in a discussion phase where we're supposed to be asking questions. Can we close the public hearing, make a motion, then go into deliberation?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true. That is the procedure, is that we ask for a motion, someone proposes a motion. Yeah.
Yeah, if the chair, before you close the public hearing, I did look at Mr. Harmon's recommendation. And there is a word omission on page 112. So if the commission is also considering amending the recommended conditions, that would be one that would be an easy change to make as well. And that would be to add per his suggestion, adding "and west" to that particular sentence.
Right. I have a question, a point of order. So in the script here, we have, it generally has, is there any discussion by the commission that's after a motion is proposed and seconded? Is there a reason for that? Because I feel like it'd be more useful for us to, right now.
It could happen either way. Yeah.
Okay.
There's not a specific. You can.
Okay.
Sometimes it helps to deliberate before you actually make the motion.
Yeah.
So you don't have to amend the motion. And get into that point.
I think the clarification there, though, is that it happens after the public hearing has been closed. If I understood
Okay.
Commissioner Hoskins' point of order correctly, is his concern is that you were deliberating before the public hearing had been closed.
Okay, thank you.
And I apologize for breaching that decorum as well, so.
Great. And I guess we don't have anyone virtually. We covered that. Okay, so at this time, I'll close public hearing for the case. Would we like to deliberate a little before even proposing a motion? It sounds like that's what we kind of wanted to do.
Well, I just want to clarify that that the memo that we got was all the changes from our study session. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
My inclination is to just approve it as is, because like I think it's really cool, really great that you guys, that you all trying to raise the formality of my diction here. That you have this collection of errata, and also we have this from in the memo. I know that myself and that me and Commissioner Garrett, we definitely each have a long list of critical changes. There's lots of links and just typographical errors too. I'd be happy just to approve it and then, but with the note that we intend to immediately begin the revision process. Just like the state of Colorado, they have an ongoing statutory revision process. Every state does, just going through and cleaning up statutes, grammar, this kind of thing. Just since we already have a nice long list of errata, I'd like to really make sure we actually get everything we mentioned. At the workshop, Commissioner Billoff, he had a lot, and some he didn't say out loud. And his, really from his architect's perspective, it was very persuasive to me that these are important things that we fix, because he was looking at it from an architect coming in and just wanting clarity of what the document says, you know? So that meant a lot to me, and yeah.
I sat at the study session and didn't say anything because we weren't allowed to.
Right.
He shouldn't have either, but he did, because this was
About
a former commissioner.
yes.
Exactly. So I have some things I'd like to say about the draft that I was not allowed to say. Of course, because I wasn't. I still have some issues with the content of the draft. It's not wording, et cetera, but I have some issues with the content of the draft.
Interesting.
I have more issues with the current one. It was adopted in 2010. I don't have a problem talking about the issues that I have if we were going to be updating this on a timely manner. But several of the things that I have, I think need to be changed within the next year or 2 years.
Yeah, I'd like to see us complete a draft within 4 months, 3 to 4, at least, because we've already done a lot of the analysis. We found, clear page number, numerical mistakes, things like this. And then, yes, it'd be great to hear what you're talking about as well. I would say that maybe like we could actually form like a subcommittee that would be the revision, the plan revision committee, something like this, is what I'm imagining.
And that was why I asked, how will this be changed? Because I don't want to stop this from being adopted and wait, another. We need to adopt a new comprehensive plan.
Yes.
2010, that's very out of date. But this one, I think, is also a little short-sighted. So I'd like to discuss my problems with this right away. So I'm not even going to bring them up right now because I don't want to stall adopting something that's better than what we have right now.
I share your feelings, and I also I want confidence that we have a mechanism for actually making these changes.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to follow through with that. We had 4 previous commissioners who are no longer with us. They continued this back in October 2023. And they had some good reasons. We did delay it and talk about it, and they wanted a lot of training. I think we have to move forward at this point with it because it'll just get approved by the state legislature administratively. But I do want to maintain that momentum we have. We're trying to discuss training and reviewing this plan, at least having an annual study session where we just review the implementation part, where the city's moving forward with it. So if we could just kind of, just as a board, just remember to bring that up from time to time. I understand Mr. Brassel mentioned we're going to be working on a work plan for 2025, because we do also need to update our bylaws, because we do still have the Robert's Rules of Order as our way.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so we need to update to Bob's rules, and in that process, we could probably try to put in some mechanisms maintaining that we have at least an annual long-term planning, because we do usually have a very full work schedule, just reviewing applications. So just make sure we have some sort of mechanism in there to look at our long-range planning.
I'm actually confident that we can get our changes made through, and that this isn't our only avenue where we have some control. Just from, without going into great detail, just from other commissioners I've spoken with, other people, I'm confident about it. That, yeah.
Well, my concern really is that we need to stay on top of updating this one. It's better than what we have, but I have a lot of severe issues regarding the meat and potato. Not, how it's written or presented. It's, what is actually being allowed, not allowed, and how it's going to affect the unity of our entire city.
Yeah, that's great. I'd like to hear what you're what you've found. So, yeah, I'd like to for us to create a venue for that. Maybe I'm thinking, I don't know. Could we approve it now, and then with some dialogue back and forth with city attorneys, like figure out, okay, how do we go about forming like a committee, like a subcommittee or something to do this revision, right? Textual revision committee kind of a thing.
Yeah, Chair Schechter, we can definitely explore that. I don't have an answer tonight, but we would want to look at what the bylaws allow, if there's any legal aspect of that. But
We've done similar things in the past, like,
Yeah.
oh, here's a little subgroup for looking into education or such
Yeah.
and such, right?
Yeah, we can definitely. So I would say that if the commission wants to, at a future date, discuss revisions, we will gladly support you in that endeavor.
Great.
What I can't speak to at the time, or at least right now, is what type of resources that we have available and staff time we have available to support the commission in the process.
Sure.
But we can have those discussions.
All right.
If that makes sense.
So I have a question. If we were to revisit it and we wanted to make changes, then how would that happen? Would we suggest the changes and then it would go through in front of city council and then they would determine whether the changes needed to be made or not?
Yeah, the changes would have to be drafted and agreed upon by the commission. You would have to
Okay.
have a public hearing, and you would forward that recommendation to city council.
Okay.
And city council would have to adopt any changes to the comprehensive plan.
It's interesting. How does that play out vis-a-vis Colorado statute, which says that the planning commission is responsible for the creation of the comprehensive plan?
Yeah, it's the same thing. State law sets a foundation for this requirement, and then cities can modify that. Home rule cities can modify that process and add to it. And so it's also important to understand that when those state laws were drafted, the idea of having supplemental professional staff support and consultant support were more rare. And so when this project was initiated, again, I wasn't there, but usually when these big projects are initiated, up front, we sit down with the Planning Commission and City Council and walk through a framework for how the plan will be developed and get support for that process and buy-in for that process. And then your work, the work of the Planning Commission is supplemented by consultant support, by staff support, to do all the outreach and all the engagement for that. And then the Planning Commission is regularly engaged as the plan is developed for input. That's how this normally happens, and I believe that happened in this case. With again, what makes this a different project is it took 4 years. They normally don't take 4 years. COVID had a big impact on this. Speaking from professional experience, the same thing happened at my last job. and that it was kicked off pre-COVID. COVID happened, and 4 years later, the plan was finally adopted. So things happen. But generally, that's how comprehensive plans are formed. Any big planning initiative, that's generally how we want to approach it. The need is identified. We engage with the Planning Commission on the framework for how the project moves forward. We get your input. You participate robustly in the process, and and the commission's hands are all over the documents as they're drafted. So here we have, I think this is probably the third or fourth commission that's had a role in this plan, and that's what you're struggling with here.
Well, I think we haven't had a role. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So this commission has not had a role
Absolutely.
in
And
this comprehensive plan.
And I recognize that.
And that's kind of why we have I think so many questions.
It's completely understandable. And so should this commission want to spend the time to reevaluate and go through this plan after council adoption, that is within your purview. We will help you formulate that. We will support you to our ability and our resources. Again, and it might take some time because the work of the commission you have a lot of work on your plate right now too. So we would be glad to work with the commission on that.
You know, I had another idea too. Might make you two feel a little better. So I was maybe 3 weeks ago, I was at a city council meeting, and when I was there, one of the other, not us, but one of the other commissions, I think it was the Commission on the Elderly, I forget what the exact name of that is.
The Senior Commission.
This Senior Commission, oh yeah, thank you, that's a much better name. I think they were all there, and one of them stood up to describe what their latest work was and what they were doing and what they had sent to city council, et cetera, et cetera. And the city council members were extremely appreciative of that. They're like, wow, this is great. You've come here to tell us what you're up to, what's going on. And so to me, that's great. That's a really great venue that we have. So let's say we do approve this. We could then go to the city council meeting where it's on the agenda, and we can speak in our role as commissioners. We don't all have to go. One or two of us would go. I'd be happy to go, and say, yes, this plan we really need this plan. It's a great improvement. However, it is a flawed document. But we see the need in going ahead and approving it, and we're immediately going to help fix some, make some improvements, whatever we decide to say.
Now, we could do that when this goes before council in September, correct?
Yeah, so you need to empower a member of the commission to speak on behalf of the commission. I would advise against anyone just ad hoc going to city council and say you're speaking on the entire commission without
Sounds wise.
Buy-in. I would also suggest that if that's what you want to do, that you kind of formulate that in your feedback, in your recommendation to council, so they have an official statement that has been voted upon by the commission, and it can be followed up with your testimony, your representative's testimony.
Yeah, it's just another communication channel that we actually do have, just seeing that in action. The thing is, do we have to do that right now? It's getting late.
I would just remind the commissioners that your approval and any conditions you attach to it will be communicated to council. That's the communication that you're sending to them in the formal way.
True. So it makes me think of the condition that, or not even a condition, I feel like we can't put conditions on city council, so I don't know if we can. We can't tell city council what to do, so I would not phrase it as the condition personally.
Chair, it wasn't my intention to say you're putting conditions on council, conditions on your approval.
Yeah, you're recommending conditions. You're recommending things to council.
Yeah. We recommend upon the condition that whatever that would be. And then it's up to them whether they accept it or not. But that's just our recommendation.
Actually, I'd be a little bit more, apologies, I'd be a little bit more subtle. You formulate your conditions in the motion, but also ask staff or empower one of your members to relay to council that the Planning Commission intends to re-look at the document and offer additional changes for future council consideration in the near future.
Yeah, and that we find it vital, something like that, and that we'll be doing that.
Well, isn't it up to the planning commission to revisit the plan, the comprehensive plan periodically to make sure that there
I believe
doesn't
so.
need to be any changes?
Absolutely.
Right, and you also have the power to amend, so that's not necessarily something that you need to attach to your recommendation here. That power exists already.
Yeah, I was trying to suggest a nuanced approach. Is like your formal recommendation is that, hypothetically, your formal recommendation would be approve the plan with the recommended changes in the staff report, but also direct staff to communicate to council that you would like to revisit the document in the near future for additional recommended changes.
But see, that's what my point was. Isn't that part of what we're supposed to do anyway? So
Like,
like
it's already
in a
our duties and
year,
expected.
we're supposed to revisit it to see if there needs to be any changes made and recommend those to city council. Isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Yeah, so how the commission goes about that,
Yes.
how much time you spend, how frequent you do that is something that you guys should discuss. I will say, there is a resource issue if you are wanting to, I'm going to be absurd here, if you're wanting to do this every 6 months, that might be difficult for the commission to achieve,
Right.
right? So,
We could do it in a year. We don't have to wait 3 years or 5 years. We can do it in a year.
So we could start working on it right now, present it in a year for these are the recommended changes. So at this point, I'm going to say to us sitting here, if we approve it or recommend approval by council, that we turn around and start working on our own with the changes. We don't even have to make that any contingency. That's something.
Or a condition.
Or a condition. We just need to do that. So we could informally let them know that we are, either recommending approval or denial, whatever we decide, but that it's up to us to start making the changes that need to be made.
I like that.
So, Mr. Schechter, I think we should call the question, make a motion for this put on the floor, and then when we get to board business, we can identify Mr. Van Heusen's comment there, that we actually start building that forward and make a motion to do that.
Great.
In that portion of the, of our agenda for the evening tonight.
Okay.
So what did you say?
He's moving to end discussion.
I'm moving the end discussion and moving forward to the motion part of the debate.
Okay, can I motion?
Sure, go for it.
I move that the Planning Commission enter a finding that the comprehensive plan is satisfactory to the Planning Commission and recommends that the City Council approve and adopt a comprehensive plan with the following conditions. All the recommended changes be made as listed in the Commerce City 2045 Comprehensive Plan memo dated August 6, 2024. And did you want to add it be in Spanish after completed?
Yeah, I'll second with a friendly amendment that we recommend the city council look into translating it in Spanish after they complete their approval of it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, was that you're moving to amend?
So I second, and then I'll second her, and I'll make a friendly amendment.
Yeah, that's good. I would vote for that. Yeah.
And then, and if you accept my friendly amendment, I'd like to make another friendly amendment. There's a gentleman that brought a
Yes,
change
and to
in
add
tonight.
this,
One at a time.
Okay. So will you accept my first friendly amendment to your motion?
of the Spanish translation?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, and then I'll add a second friendly amendment that the change that the gentleman pointed out tonight.
Yeah.
I'm
Mr.
sorry, I don't have his
Harmon.
name in front of me.
Be
I mean, we
included.
haven't verified these, but like, at least they should be looked at and checked and double. If he's right, then yeah, we should be making these corrections. Like, that's how I would add language to that effect.
So point of order is your floor, but would you accept my
sorry.
second amendment, please?
I accept your second amendment
Okay.
because that's exactly what my motion is.
Okay. So is staff clear on our motion and our amendments?
So we'd need to, yes.
Yes.
We don't
Are
need
we
a
good?
second on that amendment, or we have it already?
The friendly amendment was accepted,
Oh,
so
okay.
it's okay.
Both were. Both friendly amendments were.
Right.
Could we see the whole motion as written or as understood?
Do you want me to read it again? I mean, say it again?
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe with all these.
Okay, so this is the motion.
Okay.
I move that the Planning Commission enter a finding that the comprehensive plan is satisfactory to the Planning Commission and recommends that the City Council approve and adopt the comprehensive plan with the following conditions. All the recommended changes be made as listed in the Commerce City 2045 Comprehensive Plan memo dated August 6, 2024. That's condition 1. Condition 2 is that it be translated into Spanish when the plan is completed. And then condition 3 would be to make sure that the changes are made from Mr. Harmon's letter. Is that?
Those are my friendly amendments, and I agree.
So that's the motion.
All right, do we have a second?
Didn't you second?
Yeah, I'll second.
I seconded, and I made
second.
friendly amendments, and they are approved by the person who made the motion on the floor.
All right, can we open up electronic voting then?
Oh, thank God.
What, did you want to say something else? Too late. All right, the vote results are 5 in favor of the motion and 0 no and 0 abstain. All right.
Commissioners, I do have something to bring up from the second Apple Green case. Just a technicality that the case number and the address mentioned in the motion were from the first case and not from the second case. It's an option. You can move to bring that back up to correct that technicality if that's something the commission wants to do.
We should do that.
I think that was my error, right? I read it wrong? Okay.
But she was very delicate about that, yeah. All right, I move that we reopen that.
So
For
you
the
can
purpose-
move to reconsider the hearing
Reconsider.
due to the technical error in the reading.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Could someone hand me something to read? Right, like-
I'm not seeing that on the script. Oh, I see.
I have 2 different ones.
But then when you read the motion, the northbound one is the same as the southbound.
It was the second one.
Yeah, I concur.
Correct.
Yes, out on the 980.
I see. Thank you for bringing that up.
But on the title up there, it's different.
Right.
I gave the commissioner the correct motion, so he has that in it right now.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that to staff's attention. So was there a motion to reconsider the hearing?
We need that to make the correction, is that correct?
Okay, do we have a second?
I'm not sure if your microphone was on, Commissioner,
Sorry. I motion to reopen the hearing,
to reconsider the hearing.
reconsider the
Thank
hearing.
you.
Second.
Okay,
You have to vote on that.
okay. All right, that motion passes 4-0.
So then if the commission wishes, there could be a motion to approve the reading of the correct case number.
Okay, so I motion that the planning commission enter a finding that the requested zone change for the property located at 9022 East 470 contained in case Z98024. That's the correct case, right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and based upon such finding, recommend that the City Council approve the zone change with the following conditions. Once South Adams County Water and Sanitation District has utilities constructed within 400 feet of the project location, the owner will be required to connect to South Adams County's Water and Sanitation District utilities at that time.
All right, do we have a motion? Or a second? I'm sorry.
It's been moved and seconded.
Okay. Great, we have motion and a second. Yes, can we have a vote, please? All right, and the motion passes 5-0. No, I got 3 more things here. Is there any commission business to discuss at this time?
The first one I bring up, did we excuse Mr. Biltow's absence tonight for the record?
There was discussed at the beginning, and then there was a vote for appointing.
All right, sorry.
Yeah, I guess we took,
been a long
we
evening.
didn't, yeah.
It happened quick.
Okay.
You missed it.
Mr. Schechter, would you be allowing a discussion on the floor to see if this board would be interested in joining the American Planning Association as a commission or planning board?
Yes, sure.
Okay, just real quick, I know time's getting late here, guys, and you guys want to get going. So I think commissioners should be as active as their own level of involvement as they choose. I think if we join the American Planning Association, it opens up a lot of resources for us to self-study and train, can help us build essential skills as we need them, helps us connect with other boards and planners with the chapter events that happen here in the state of Colorado. I believe it's also they give you a magazine, I don't know if it's digital and print version. Just a real quick, the American Planning Association is the credential for planners. So that's their professional credentialing organization. And it also allows continuing education credits for them. So a lot of the webinars and presentations they have are highly applicable to commissioners. So if we are interested and we want to make a motion tonight, if you guys would like to, just one thing to remember, that is going to require public funds. So we will have to put in a budget request. Just so everyone's aware, that's $121 for the planning board to join, plus $68 for each commissioner as we want to join the roster. So that could be up to $665 for a full board or commission as you want to go, as if we want to join, and answer any questions if I can help out.
565?
$665. So we'd probably just put in a
For how
budget.
many commissioners?
8 commissioners at $68 apiece.
Okay.
Is staff want to put any feedback with that?
We will look to see if there's existing budget that could be utilized.
With the 2025 budget then?
Yeah, and then I don't know if it's too late in the budget process, but we'll inquire about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm undecided about it. I have the impression that the APA is a fairly politicized organization. They take strong policy advocacy stances with certain political parties or political movements. And it's not purely an academic professional organization. So I'm a little skeptical. That's where I'm at.
I'd have to look into it and do research and see what they are.
I'd like a
I mean,
little
it
more
sounds great
information.
if we can get the education that we need out of it without the political background.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting idea. I'd like to look into it.
So would you like to look into
Yeah.
it at a later date? Because the only thing I bring it up now, and I'm sorry to pressure, is because the budgetary issue and making sure we get on the 2025 budget. And it's up to individual commissioners to join. So we'd have to agree to join as a board, and then as an individual, you'd be allowed to put yourself on the roster or not if you'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll make a motion, and if it dies, it dies. So I'd like to make a motion that see if the Planning Commission can join the American Planning Association and request City Council to provide budget funds in the 2025 budget.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, can we have a vote, please? I guess. All right, the motion passes, 4 yeses and 1 no. Okay. And no other commission business? Okay. Is there any attorney business to discuss at this time?
No, Chair, no attorney business, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any staff business to discuss?
At this juncture, we usually provide previous case updates. So we can provide the update on the landfill cases that were heard at the June Planning Commission. That included the land use plan, annexation zoning, and the vacation of right-of-way of Himalaya Street. All 3 of those were approved by City Council last night.
Okay, thank you. With that, the time is now 9:16 and the meeting is adjourned.
Yay. So it's the
glory.
American Planning Association?
American Planning
Okay.
Association, so it's, our
Yeah,
planners
oh, look.
generally have to get a credential through them. It's kind of helps them get their,
Oh,
get their
my
career
lord.
going.
Okay, that's great. I'll look at their website.